The girl's eyes sparkled with newfound appreciation for him. In truth, such questions do not possess a definitive answer. Yet, a response often unveils the responder's character and mindset. Throughout history, those who have achieved greatness have invariably been individuals whose spirits soared above the ordinary. Only with such immense courage can one hope to achieve remarkable accomplishments. Jiang Yuan's response has unveiled that he is indeed a person of lofty aspirations, capable of great deeds. The young woman could not contain her admiration and applauded wholeheartedly, genuinely moved by Jiang Yuan's answer. Congratulations, Jiang Yuan. Your response is flawless and has withstood our scrutiny. Her eyes sparkled like stars. Allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Yi Yuan, and it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Chapter 439. The olive branch of the Feuerbach Consortium. Jiang Yuan gazed quietly at the young girl who introduced herself as Yi Yan. It was evident that her willingness to disclose her name indicated a preliminary desire to establish a connection. However, Jiang Yuan, lacking knowledge of her true background, was understandably hesitant to engage too readily. After all, if one is unwilling to reveal their identity, it is clear that sincerity is absent. Yi Yan, possessing a keen intellect and vibrant spirit, discerned Jiang Yuan's apprehensions through his demeanor. With a smile, she spoke, "We are representatives of the Feuerbach Consortium. We have recently heard about your confrontation with the Paradise Consortium as a challenger and wish to discuss matters with you." At the mention of the Feuerbach Consortium, the executives of the World Hotel collectively shuddered, instinctively bowing their heads. A flicker of uncontrollable astonishment flashed in their eyes. Though they were already aware of the formidable power behind this girl, hearing the name of the consortium still left them in shock, akin to being struck by a heavy hammer. This was no mere reaction. The Feuerbach Consortium stood as the most legendary among the 5 major conglomerates. Unlike other consortia, which either thrived on exceptional teamwork or strategic advantages, or capitalized on fortuitous circumstances, the Feuerbach Consortium was strikingly unique. Founded by a solitary businessman named Feuerbach, it began without a team, advisory board, or convoluted institutional structures. What Feuerbach possessed was an immense ambition, unparalleled power, formidable execution, and a rugged personal charisma that captivated all. Feuerbach had no equal partners. Every member of his enterprises willingly submitted to him, eager to serve as loyal subordinates. Each of his financial warfare strategies was textbook perfect, resulting in a meteoric rise to prominence within a mere 6 years, securing a place among the 5 major consortia. Xiao Yin and Yao Wenwen were equally astonished. Having done their homework prior to their arrival, they were well aware of the Feuerbach Consortium's renown. No wonder the representatives spoke with such audacity, expecting them to answer questions before agreeing to converse. Fortunately, Jiang Yuan's resourcefulness enabled him to respond impeccably, sparing them the regret of missing this opportunity. The 2 girls felt a sense of relief, and admiration for Jiang Yuan grew stronger in their gazes. Seizing the moment to demonstrate her sincerity, Yi Yan remarked, "Jiang Yuan, the people at the World Hotel are short-sighted, allowing their fear of the Paradise Consortium to neglect you. However, we at the Feuerbach Consortium shall not do the same. We have established a profound collaboration with the upper echelons of global hotels, allowing us to tailor a suite of accommodations for your utmost enjoyment. Furthermore, at the forthcoming World Banquet, we shall bestow upon you a plethora of unexpected advantages." As Xiao Yin listened, her eyes sparkled with increasing brightness. The Feuerbach Consortium stood as a towering tree, and should she harness its strength, this endeavor could undoubtedly yield remarkable results with minimal effort. However, Jiang Yuan was not quick to acquiesce, instead narrowing his eyes contemplatively. Chapter 440. Not of my kind. Jiang Yuan smiled faintly and speculated. The reason the Feuerbach Consortium has approached me must be due to some significant grievances with the Heavenly Consortium? Yi Yan nodded and replied, "The Heavenly Consortium is arrogant and dismissive, relying on its monopolistic position in the industry. 2 years ago, they openly tore up our cooperation agreement and unilaterally extracted a substantial cooperation fee. This incident infuriated our chairman. Previously, our relationship with the Heavenly Consortium resembled that of competitors and partners, but this event acted as a fuse, igniting the conflicts between us. It directly led to the rupture of relations between the Feuerbach Consortium and the Heavenly Consortium, and by last year, the animosity had escalated to a state of open hostility." Xiao Yin, listening nearby, nodded discreetly. This matter was hardly a secret, as numerous financial news outlets had reported this black swan event. There had once been a team of prodigies from the Dragon Kingdom, each a graduate of the world's top universities. They were invited as specialized consultants for investment and financial management for the Feuerbach Consortium. In their mathematical models, investing in the Heavenly Consortium promised exceedingly high returns. However, they were utterly astonished to find the outcome was completely contrary to their expectations. This professional team suffered devastating losses when dealing with the Heavenly Consortium. With their prodigious intellects, they had firmly believed that such a colossal entity as the Heavenly Consortium could never possibly default. Unfortunately, the Heavenly Consortium, relying on its oligopolistic status, shamelessly demanded exorbitant fees at the last moment. This debacle rendered the Prodigy team a source of disgrace within the industry, leading to their immediate dissolution by the founder, leaving no trace behind. This incident further tarnished the global perception of the Dragon Kingdom's people. Jiang Yuan sighed softly, pondering the Heavenly Consortium as an industry behemoth, understands that others must rely on their channels. Coupled with the fact that the Feuerbach Consortium is a relatively new player with far less foundational strength compared to these top-tier conglomerates that have amassed wealth over the last century. They feel emboldened to act with impunity. Yi Yian smiled slightly and formally extended her delicate right hand, saying, Jiang Yuan, join us. The Feuerbach Consortium can provide you with all the necessary support to confront the Heavenly Consortium. After a moment of contemplation, Jiang Yuan chuckled softly and declined, No, I have my own plans. The Feuerbach Consortium is founded by foreigners, and I prefer not to join. Yi Yian was taken aback and responded, I believe you have no reason to refuse. You have already offended the Heavenly Consortium. If you do not choose to cooperate with us, your situation could become exceedingly perilous. Jiang Yuan smiled and replied, You need not worry about that. Yi Yian gazed at Jiang Yuan with a palpable sense of reluctance and inquired, Could you elucidate your reasons for declining our invitation? Is it solely due to the fact that we represent a foreign consortium? Jiang Yuan responded with a cold smile, stretching leisurely as he remarked, Considering you are also a citizen of Long Country, allow me to offer you a word of caution. Those who are not of our kin harbor different intentions. No matter how many merits you accumulate in their eyes, to them, you shall merely remain a highly useful tool. Yi Yian, filled with dissatisfaction, retorted, That is mere prejudice. Jiang Yuan chuckled softly. Time will inevitably reveal all truths. I find no value in engaging in this debate with you. Chapter 441. Difficulties. Jiang Yuan decisively declined the invitation from the Feuerbach Consortium without a hint of hesitation. This astonishing act left everyone utterly astounded. Logically, having already offended the Heaven Consortium and becoming a thorn in the sides of many at this global banquet, his situation appeared exceedingly grim. Given the immense power of the Heaven Consortium, extinguishing a mere individual would be as effortless as crushing an ant. At this critical juncture of life and death, the Feuerbach Consortium's willingness to extend a helping hand was indeed a boon. Accepting their olive branch would have been the most rational and prudent choice. Yet, Jiang Yuan rejected their offer simply because the consortium was founded by foreigners, which undoubtedly took everyone by surprise. Apart from Xiao Yin and Yao Wenwen, who understood Jiang Yuan's temperament and were not overly shocked, the executives of the World Hotel were wide-eyed, staring in disbelief at Jiang Yuan, seemingly unable to comprehend the unfolding events. What audacity Jiang Yuan displayed in outright rejecting the Feuerbach Consortium. Audacity? Some might argue he was merely arrogant and reckless. He evidently did not grasp the terrifying influence of century-old consortium like the Heaven Consortium. Only the Feuerbach Consortium could possibly save his insignificant life. Did Jiang Yuan really believe that by resisting the Heaven Consortium's public relations team once, he could diminish their formidable prowess? It is crucial to understand that the true strength of the Heaven Consortium far surpasses that of a mere public relations team. Is the pride and arrogance of the Dragon Kingdom people truly something extraordinary? We shall merely watch the spectacle unfold. Jiang Yuan will undoubtedly pay a bloody price for his hubris, and no amount of regret will remedy his fate when the time comes. Whispers circulated among the crowd, their gazes toward Jiang Yuan filled with astonishment, confusion, admiration, disdain, a myriad of emotions. Jiang Yuan ignored their murmurs and their scrutinizing stares. After all, he had made his own decision, requiring no one to define his actions. He had accepted Mr. Li's entrustment to attend this global banquet, naturally to assist his granddaughter. As a fellow citizen of the Dragon Kingdom, mutual support and assistance were imperative. Moreover, could one truly expect foreigners to selflessly lend a helping hand? More often than not, their intentions were merely to exploit. Sometimes, the benefits one receives come at unimaginable costs. Thus, after a moment of contemplation, Jiang Yuan firmly rejected the offer. The consortium his benefactor's granddaughter was affiliated with, the Li Consortium, was the organization he intended to join. Let us proceed with the necessary formalities, Jiang Yuan instructed. The banquet does not commence until tomorrow. You are free to act as you wish in the meantime. After Yao Wenwen and Xiao Yin completed the onboarding procedures, they encountered a rather awkward dilemma. The hotel suites typically range from standard rooms, accessible rooms, executive suites, luxury suites, to presidential suites, each with increasing specifications. According to the rules outlined in the banquet invitation held by Jiang Yuan, the rooms in this global hotel are allocated on a first-come, first-served basis, allowing for a choice of accommodations. This implies that Jiang Yuan and his companions arrived in a timely manner, clearly affording them the liberty to select the specifications of their rooms. Yet, the individual handling the check-in process displayed an air of indifference, only willing to offer the most basic standard room service. I apologize, but our hotel policy dictates that we currently only have this type of room available, the lobby manager said, his face adorned with feigned regret, while a flicker of disdain in his eyes betrayed the insincerity of his apology. Chapter 442. Revealing identity. Jiang Yuan let out a cold smile and stretched languidly, fully aware that this was merely a deliberate provocation on the part of the other party. There were numerous reasons behind this hostility. One of them could certainly be that he had offended the Heavenly Consortium, perhaps prompting its members to covertly leverage their influence to intimidate him. Alternatively, it might stem from the pervasive bias against individuals from the Dragon Kingdom held by the hotel staff, leading them to intentionally create difficulties. Why bother staying here if we are not welcomed? Yao Wenwen exclaimed in indignation. Jiang Yuan remained non-committal to her suggestion. In truth, the island boasted a wealth of tourist resources and accompanying facilities. Although the accommodations at other hotels might be slightly inferior, the disparity would not be overly pronounced. Considering alternative lodging was indeed a viable option, especially given the evident contempt these individuals held for the Dragon Kingdom, suggesting that this was not merely an isolated incident, but rather the beginning of a troubling trend. However, should they leave this establishment in disgrace and seek refuge in a civilian hotel, it would be tantamount to proclaiming the impotence of the Dragon Kingdom to the world, a notion that was utterly intolerable to his sense of pride. Yao Wenwen shot a glare at the hotel staff member, a man of modest stature with yellowish skin, whose command of the dragon language was clumsy and stilted. It was evident that he was a foreigner, despite his seemingly refined demeanor and the appearance of having received a superior education. There lingered a trace of cunning and mercenary spirit in his eyes. Such individuals were typically opportunistic, pragmatic, and adept at navigating the spaces between, ever eager to exploit situations to their advantage. Naturally, they harbored an acute fear of the vast influence wielded by the Heavenly Consortium while simultaneously coveting its resources. You will soon regret your narrow-mindedness, you pathetic establishment, Yao Wenwen admonished hotly. The staff member remained utterly unfazed, resembling a stone statue. Yet his gaze unmistakably conveyed a blend of disdain and indifference. In the eyes of such people, individuals from the Dragon Kingdom were mere soft persimmons, easily manipulated at will. Having worked in this World Hotel, a venue for international gatherings, for nearly a decade, the Dragon nationals who frequented it were invariably seen as inferior, their status and wealth perpetually overshadowed by their foreign counterparts. Over time, this fostered a deeply entrenched stereotype among the staff, leading them to believe that offending a Dragon national would bear no repercussions. However, the consequences of offending foreigners, particularly those aligned with the Heavenly Consortium, were altogether different. Just a month prior, a staff member faced severe repercussions for having inadvertently offended an individual from the Heavenly Consortium with mere words. Not only did they lose their job, but they were also compelled to reimburse a substantial sum for negligence. When they sought to defend their rights through legal means, they were ensnared by a loophole in their employment contract. Offending someone from the Heavenly Consortium bears grave consequences. Within such a premier conglomerate, one can certainly find a cadre of exceptionally formidable legal talents. The legal department of this elite organization operates on a level far beyond that of ordinary law firms. For an average person, confronting the Heavenly Consortium is akin to an ant facing an elephant. There exists no chance of victory. Jiang Yuan stretched lazily. Before arriving here, Elderly had already briefed him on the serious malice many harbored towards individuals from Longhua. Yet, it was not until he personally set foot in this place that he truly grasped the extent of the issue. Fortunately, Elderly had preemptively drafted a letter of authorization, which he entrusted to a capable subordinate to explain the situation. Jiang Yuan was prepared to leverage this letter to join the Li Consortium. He retrieved the letter from his pocket and presented it to Yao Wenwen. "Deliver this to the executives here," Jiang Yuan instructed. There was no need for excessive dialogue. Simply hand this letter to the hotel staff, and they would know how to proceed. Yao Wenwen cast a perplexed glance at Jiang Yuan, but suppressed her curiosity, hastily following his directions. When the executives of the World Hotel received the letter of authorization, they were filled with confusion. This was not merely an authorization directed at them. It was a command for them to relay it to another party. Why not deliver it directly? However, their doubts swiftly dissipated upon seeing the consortium's emblem on the back of the letter, a soaring dragon eagle. Instantly, the executives of the World Hotel were rendered speechless. Individuals from the Li Consortium. It turned out that Jiang Yuan had connections with the Li Consortium. No wonder he had declined the Fairbach Consortium. He had evidently made grand preparations. Yao Wenwen was unaware of the unfolding situation, but she could distinctly observe the beads of cold sweat forming on the foreheads of the hotel staff. Their gazes towards her group were filled with reverence. "Boss, what on earth did you write in that letter? It seems incredibly effective," Yao Wenwen exclaimed in a hushed tone. Jiang Yuan shook his head, unwilling to divulge the contents of the letter. The specifics of the message were inconsequential. What truly mattered was the dragon eagle emblem on the letter. No one would dare to forge such an emblem, as it symbolizes the pinnacle of power and wealth, an exclusive mark of the Li Consortium. Should anyone attempt to counterfeit this seal, they would undoubtedly face catastrophic consequences. In other words, from the very moment Jiang Yuan's letter surfaced, the entire world of hospitality became acutely aware of a profoundly significant truth. Jiang Yuan is intricately linked with the Li family consortium. This revelation is undoubtedly akin to a bombshell. The staff member, who had just moments ago exuded arrogance and disregarded the people of Longhua, now found himself in a state of palpable discomfort. Although he had dismissed the Longhua populace, the Li family consortium is an undeniably esteemed entity, and Jiang Yuan cannot be approached with the same casual demeanor one might afford an ordinary citizen of Longhua. Just as he was about to execute a complete reversal in his attitude, his face adorned with a forced smile, preparing to extend an apology to Jiang Yuan, the latter, with a cold smirk, suddenly intoned words reminiscent of the final judgment. "You seem to believe that offending us Longhua people will bear no consequences, correct?" The staff member's expression froze. Jiang Yuan's words had precisely pierced his thoughts, for he indeed believed that offending the people of Longhua would yield no repercussions, emboldening him to act as he had moments before. Chapter 443. The art of disciplinary measures. Jiang Yuan's cold inquiry pierced through the air like a keen blade, pinning his adversary firmly against the wall. A flicker of fear and guilt flashed across the staff member's face. Yet the years of professional training allowed him to regain his composure swiftly as he began to fabricate excuses with an facade of calmness. "Sir, we are a world-class hotel, staffed by trained professionals, and such notions as you describe could never arise here. The hospitality we extend knows no national boundaries." "It was merely a misunderstanding," the staff member replied with utmost respect. "Regardless of whether you hail from the Dragon Nation or any other country, you will receive equal treatment here." Beside him, Yao Wenwen gritted her teeth, boiling with indignation. The duplicity of these individuals, their skill in deception, was astonishingly proficient. Such exceptional acting could rival that of second-rate actors in a professional film studio. It was evident that this staff member had deliberately chosen to bully the Dragon Nation, assuming that they would not retaliate, or that any retribution would be inconsequential, thus daring to provoke with malice. Jiang Yuan's gaze was as sharp as lightning, and he would not be easily deceived by such a person. In the past, he had encountered some nearsighted individuals who offended him, yet he had deemed them beneath his notice, choosing not to teach them a lesson. After all, those individuals were fellow countrymen. However, this situation was markedly different and could not be compared. This was not just a foreigner. He had implicitly deemed the Dragon Nation to be weak and easily bullied. The essence of this matter was entirely altered. The Dragon Nation has long been characterized by a tradition of tolerance and benevolence. Historical figures such as Liu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty, won the affection of the people through his leniency and fair governance, while Emperor Taizong of the Tang Dynasty, Li Shimin, gained the love of the populace by prioritizing their welfare. Such exemplary cultural legacies have profoundly influenced many Dragon Nation citizens who inherently abhor cruelty and brutality. The values of tolerance, humility, and kindness are deeply rooted in the hearts of every citizen of the Dragon Nation. However, this very quality has emboldened the staff at the World Hotel, who mistakenly believe they can offend the Dragon Nation without facing any repercussions. Mr. Lee once mentioned to me that the dispositions and cultures of some foreigners are starkly different from ours, and it appears to be true. Jiang Yuan pondered for a moment. Foreigners often adhere to a stark doctrine of power supremacy. Their initial response to a stranger is not a greeting, but rather a provocation. If one possesses sufficient strength to retaliate, they are deemed a friend. Otherwise, they are regarded as weak and cowardly. The cultural divide can sometimes be far greater than we imagine. In the worldview of many foreigners, should they deliver a harsh kick to your backside and you lack the ability to return the favor, they will continue to mock and insult you without end. Jiang Yuan, this time, intends to impart a thorough lesson to these individuals. This endeavor is not solely for his own vindication, but also to uphold the dignity of countless compatriots from the Dragon Country. Jiang Yuan has firmly resolved to leave an indelible mark of retribution upon the representatives of the global hotel industry. Otherwise, his fellow countrymen would continue to endure unimaginable discrimination and insults upon their arrival in the future. After all, the decision to bully someone often hinges not on their honesty, but rather on the perceived risk of retribution. It is a matter of whether they are deemed easy prey. This undertaking is not merely for personal satisfaction, but also for the benefit of those who will come after him from the Dragon Country. Yao Wenwen, having witnessed the situation, could no longer remain passive and immediately volunteered. "Boss, leave this matter to me." Jiang Yuan replied, "Indeed, this time, do not hold back." Empowered by Jiang Yuan's trust, a fierce glint flashed in Yao Wenwen's eyes as she confidently approached the hotel executives. Well-versed in foreign languages, she engaged in a fluent and comprehensive dialogue with them in less than 15 minutes. Yao Wenwen's demands were threefold. First, the dismissal of the rude staff member. Second, a legal suit against the hotel for the employee's misconduct. And third, a substantial financial penalty imposed upon the establishment. Jiang Yuan nodded in approval from the sidelines, remarking with a smile, "You are becoming increasingly discerning in your approach." Flattered by Jiang Yuan's praise, Yao Wenwen stood with an air of pride. Xiaoyan also deemed the handling of this affair quite reasonable, recognizing that imparting a lesson often transcends the simplistic and brutal means of physical confrontation. Such actions not only risk leaving incriminating evidence, but also invite legal complications and troubles. In contemporary society, there exist countless methods to penalize an individual. For instance, when the global hotel signs contracts with its employees, it invariably incorporates clauses favorable to the hotel, given that the staff member had erred first. Pursuing legal action based on these terms would almost guarantee victory. Moreover, since the global hotel had become aware of Jiang Yuan's identity and his significant ties to the Li Consortium, it would be unwise to offend him over a mere lowly employee. The most critical factor is that foreigners often indulge in a culture of excessive consumption, adhering to the principle of living for the moment. They typically carry substantial debts, with their jobs being the lifeline for repayment. Losing their job, coupled with the demand for exorbitant compensation, would undoubtedly be more distressing than death itself. The creditors, specifically summoned by the financiers, are hardly benevolent figures. They employ ruthless means to ensure repayment. To fall into their clutches would be a dire predicament. Consequently, the staff member, overwhelmed with terror, hastily pleaded for Jiang Yuan's mercy, imploring him to reconsider. However, this time, Jiang Yuan was resolute in imparting a severe lesson, intending to serve as a warning to future generations. The people of Longhua must not be humiliated, for the consequences shall rest upon those who dare to defy. Should he allow himself to be swayed by compassion, should he fail to establish his formidable reputation at this moment, then in the future, if such incidents were to recur and endanger his compatriots, Jiang Yuan would have no choice but to act differently. Regardless of how fervently that individual pleaded, nearly prostrating himself on the ground, Jiang Yuan remained unmoved. Such individuals are like the wind, seeking to take advantage when the tide is in their favor. Yet when the winds shift, they beg for mercy. Jiang Yuan was certainly no fool to show mercy. He allowed the security personnel of the World Hotel to drag that staff member away without hesitation. Coincidentally, at that moment, the Li family consortium had received the entrusted letter from Jiang Yuan. "Mr. Jiang, upon hearing about you, the princess of the Li family has specially prepared a premium presidential suite for you. This is the highest standard room in our hotel," said the hotel executive with a warm smile. Xiao Yan, ever vigilant, questioned, the princess of the Li family? Why would she prepare such a splendid room for us? Chapter 444. Mistaken for the most powerful insider, Jiang Yuan felt a tinge of curiosity. He had yet to unveil even a fraction of his capabilities. Yet, the princess of the Li family conglomerate was willing to provide him and his companions with the most exquisite suite. Clearly, there were underlying circumstances at play. It must be noted that at the World Hotel, each category of suite was arranged in a pyramid structure. The highest tier suites were exceedingly rare, residing at the pinnacle of the pyramid, an emblem of ultimate power and status. Within the 5 major conglomerates, only a select few individuals of the highest rank could ever occupy the presidential suite. Most others, aside from the 5 conglomerates, were mere wandering celebrities, who typically found themselves relegated to the most basic accommodations. Even with a letter of authorization in hand, it was improbable for Jiang Yuan to be granted immediate access to the lavish presidential suite. At best, he could expect to occupy a suite of slightly higher standing, which would be more reasonable. However, the executives of the World Hotel subtly hinted at something more. It is said that a highly respected elder has recommended you. They informed him. The letter Jiang Yuan submitted was not trivial. According to rumors, it was backed by an elder whom the Li family princess held in high esteem. Instantly, Jiang Yuan nodded in acknowledgement. Being an old subordinate of Elder Li, this individual undoubtedly held significant seniority, with such a figure vouching for him. Even the princess of the Li family would hesitate to deny him a degree of favor. Having an elder's support, arranging suitable accommodations for him seemed entirely plausible. Yet, Jiang Yuan could not help but smile wryly. It appeared as though he were nothing more than an incapable insider, effortlessly moving into the most luxurious presidential suite without having lifted a finger. Nevertheless, Jiang Yuan chose not to dwell on this. His companions were already showing signs of fatigue. After such a long and arduous journey, you must be tired. Let us rest, he suggested with a smile. Upon hearing this, Yao Wenwen and Xiaoyan erupted in cheers. After enduring a long trek, they were finally able to settle down in peace. The 2 young women, accompanied by a throng of maids, swiftly set off to locate their suite and store their luggage. Subsequently, Jiang Yuan received an invitation from the Li family conglomerate. Esteemed Mr. Jiang, we are here to invite you to our internal meeting, 2 impeccably dressed young men said with utmost respect and courtesy. Jiang Yuan nodded. After all, the highest, rarest, and most luxurious presidential suite was not easily attainable. Its prestige naturally demanded a match in status and capability. Following the 2 men, he walked to the elevator and ascended to the 37th floor. The World Hotel was vast beyond measure. A stranger entering could easily lose their way. Even with Jiang Yuan's remarkable memory, without the guidance of these 2, he too would have faced the risk of becoming disoriented. After approximately 20 minutes, he finally entered an exceedingly spacious room. Upon his arrival, Jiang Yuan discovered that it was already filled with around 15 individuals. The diversity of their skin tones was striking, comprising both citizens of the Dragon Kingdom and foreigners, all exuding an extraordinary aura. Even through Jiang Yuan's discerning gaze, they appeared as exceptional individuals, embodying pride and confidence in their demeanor. Such an aura of superiority could not merely be performed by any actor. It was deeply ingrained in their very essence, a product of years of experience. For reasons unknown, Jiang Yuan sensed a palpable undercurrent of jealousy in the way these individuals regarded him. Have you heard? Miss Li has absurdly relinquished one of our consortium's 3 presidential suite allocations to this person. It's simply outrageous. We have stood by her side through thick and thin for nearly 3 years, contributing significantly, yet we have not been granted such honor, while this insufferable brat has received it. I cannot fathom what Miss Li sees in Jiang Yuan. Is it merely his audacity to confront the Paradise Consortium? Their ranks are filled with experts, including award-winning economists, whose understanding of finance and investment is unparalleled. I believe Jiang Yuan is merely a superficial connection, having secured a recommendation from some elder, and yet Miss Li treats him with such distinction. It is truly unfathomable. Although you all express such sentiments, I find myself intrigued by Jiang Yuan. There have been connections in the past, but to garner Miss Li's esteem to the extent of granting him one of our consortium's presidential suites indicates he must be a formidable connection indeed. My curiosity is piqued. Listening to their whispers, Jiang Yuan began to comprehend the situation. After all, jealousy is not solely a woman's trait. It is also a man's most fatal flaw. The presidential suite allocations at the World Hotel are exceedingly limited. Even the formidable Lee Consortium has secured less than 3. These allocations represent more than mere comfort or safety. They embody a form of glory, akin to wearing a crown. While some may dismiss this honor as trivial, for the high-ranking officials within the Lee Consortium, it is an intoxicating allure. After all, such recognition signifies status within the consortium. These individuals, proud and distinguished, could hardly accept a subordinate position. The hierarchy of status is something they would go to great lengths to contest. Understanding the dynamics at play, Jiang Yuan did not waver. Instead, he stood tall and emboldened. He cast a cold glance around, calmly meeting the eyes of everyone present, showing not the slightest sign of retreat or timidity. He was undoubtedly a man of fortitude. How could he possibly feel any trepidation in the face of other scrutiny? He would never allow anyone to define him. Even if he were merely perceived as a superficial connection in their eyes, it mattered not. Such judgments held no sway over him. Observing Jiang Yuan's assertive demeanor, many of the aides could not help but furrow their brows, feeling a surge of indignation. After all, Jiang Yuan was but a newcomer, and within the Lee Consortium, there existed an unspoken rule that newcomers must show deference to their seniors. The hierarchy between juniors and seniors was marked by a harsh and unforgiving dynamic. Yet, Jiang Yuan appeared utterly unconcerned with this pecking order, displaying a gaze that suggested defiance. This, without a doubt, incited a wave of annoyance among many, who felt compelled to reprimand this audacious newcomer. Just as the atmosphere in the room grew tense, a crisp meowing sound broke the silence. Meow, meow, meow. Chapter 445. The disregard of the elites. Jiang Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly as he instinctively turned his gaze towards the source of the melodious meowing. Following the emergence of this crisp feline sound, the previously bustling noise around gradually subsided. The meow was peculiar, distinctly different from the domesticated cats or ragdolls and blue cats Jiang Yuan was accustomed to in the Dragon Kingdom. This sound was sharper, imbued with an undeniable air of authority and dominance. One by one, everyone fell silent, as if fearful of disturbing an immensely mysterious and noble presence. The Lee Corporation had an unwritten rule. No breed of cat was permitted in the workplace for internal employees. In the corporate culture of the Lee family, cats held an exceptionally unique symbolism, and there was a long-standing consensus that their status rivaled that of the dragon eagle emblem. Only the most esteemed and honored individuals were deemed worthy of keeping cats, particularly rare breeds. Among the current generation of the Lee Corporation, the most distinguished and powerful individual was none other than Miss Li Jiqing, the heir of the Li family. The Ashera cat she kept was one of the rarest breeds in the world, with fewer than 10 individuals remaining globally. The rarity and preciousness of an Ashera cat meant that even a single specimen of ordinary quality could fetch tens of millions. The arrival of the Ashera cat signified the imminent presence of Miss Li, who would be approaching shortly. Upon her arrival, we must seek a proper explanation from her. It is utterly unjust that we, the seasoned employees who have contributed significantly, are not afforded the opportunity to occupy the presidential suite, while this newcomer Jiang Yuan is granted such privilege. Moreover, Jiang Yuan's demeanor is rather irksome to me. As a newcomer, he ought to show utmost respect to us, the seniors. Yet, it seems he has little intention of adhering to this principle. I have encountered many such obstinate individuals before, and they must be firmly corrected. Otherwise, in time, they may disregard even our presence entirely. This room, designated as a special suite within the World Hotel, was remarkably spacious, accommodating nearly 20 individuals. Those present were all senior core members of the Lee Corporation, and only they were entitled to attend this internal meeting. Jiang Yuan, however, was merely a temporary attendee due to a letter of delegation from a senior, and by rights, his status fell far short of that of the others gathered here. In the eyes of these senior core members, Jiang Yuan was merely a beneficiary of connections, lacking any legitimate qualification to partake in this meeting. Furthermore, even if he were granted an exception to attend, his status remained that of a mere newcomer. In the corporate culture of the Lee Consortium, it is utterly inappropriate for a mere junior to exhibit such confidence and self-respect as Jiang Yuan does. Newcomers should possess the utmost and all-encompassing respect for their seniors who have dedicated many years to the Lee organization. The disparity between the seasoned veterans and the newly joined juniors is akin to the chasm between heaven and earth. This hierarchical relationship is an undeniable and ironclad rule. Yet, Jiang Yuan, a mere connection, seems to possess an undercurrent of ambition to challenge and disrupt this established order. Such behavior is absolutely intolerable. Furthermore, Jiang Yuan is an exceedingly troublesome entity, embroiled in irreconcilable conflicts with the Tian-Tang consortium. It is not merely the presidential suite that is at stake. Many among them may even wish to create direct or indirect opportunities to expel Jiang Yuan from the Li consortium in order to avoid direct confrontation with Tian-Tang. After approximately 3 minutes, accompanied by the rhythmic click of high heels, a woman of exquisite grace and opulence appeared before Jiang Yuan. He could readily discern that only a formidable woman, driven and exuding confidence, could produce such purposeful footsteps. Clad in a simple yet elegant white gown, her hair elegantly highlighted in golden hues, and possessing exquisitely refined features, she radiated an alluring charm even with minimal makeup. The moment she entered, it was as if the room had been illuminated by a brilliant white light. Prior to her arrival, the world had been shrouded in chaotic darkness. With her emergence, it was bathed in brilliance. The power of her beauty is often more formidable than one can imagine. She is the current leader of the Li consortium, Li Jiqing. Her eyes seemed to hold the cosmos, and as her cherry lips parted gently, she inquired, "Is everyone here?" In that instant, even the most seasoned and worldly individuals present could not help but lower their gaze slightly, hesitant to meet the eyes of this extraordinarily regal woman, as if fearing to desecrate a deity. Only Jiang Yuan stood apart. He maintained a calm demeanor, head held high, gazing at Li Jiqing as if she were an ordinary woman. Witnessing this, many felt a surge of indignation, perceiving Jiang Yuan's audacity as both brazen and unique. "Miss Li, everyone should have arrived, though our most distinguished member, Bruce, seems somewhat fatigued, perhaps due to an error in his suite arrangement," a dark-skinned foreigner suddenly interjected. Indeed, it appears that the suite arrangements were mistaken. A novice, recently introduced to our consortium, has been allocated a room of higher status than any of us. "This seems to be a grave oversight," another fair-skinned foreigner slowly added. As the two foreigners spoke up, the other expatriates anxiously turned their gaze towards Li Jiqing. The moment she slightly softened her stance, they would eagerly join in. Meanwhile, despite some dissatisfaction towards Jiang Yuan, many of the Dragon Kingdom citizens refrained from adding to the foreign criticism, considering him to be one of their own. They even prepared to speak a few supportive words on his behalf. Li Jiqing chose not to directly address their inquiries, but instead fixed her gaze upon Jiang Yuan. "Jiang Yuan, it is a pleasure to meet you. Welcome to our consortium. I have received my uncle's letter of appointment, and he holds you in high regard. I am confident you will not disappoint me," she remarked with a smile. "However, it appears that the others are somewhat skeptical of your abilities." Chapter 446. The Impossible Task. Jiang Yuan spoke calmly, asserting that the measure of his abilities would be revealed in due time. He had once heard it said that some individuals were akin to cicadas that could only experience a single summer. They remained oblivious to the chill of winter. Thus, engaging in discussions about winter with such people was futile, and there was no need to exert oneself in explanations. In truth, he did not require their validation, nor did he seek their superfluous opinions. Their narrow perspectives rendered them incapable of comprehending the broader horizon. So why should he be concerned with the judgments of those who were as limited as creatures at the bottom of a well? Upon uttering these words, many were left astounded. This was a prime example of delivering the most audacious statements in the most serene of tones. The summer insect knows not the frost. With just a few simple phrases, Jiang Yuan had deftly ridiculed the inadequacies and narrow-mindedness of the elite from the Li family consortium. Such was Jiang Yuan's nature. If his opponents chose to engage in triviality, he would elevate the discourse to a more profound level. There had been no prior enmity between them. However, due to jealousy over his acquisition of superior housing resources that highlighted their inferiority, they sought to mock him publicly in front of Li Jiqing. Did he then have to endure their scorn in silence? Jiang Yuan responded directly and with conviction, his words resonating with authority, causing hearts to tremble with astonishment. Even a rare Athra cat could not help but glance at him, meowing in surprise. Li Jiqing could not suppress her momentary astonishment. Sensing that Jiang Yuan was indeed quite extraordinary, such domineering and assertive remarks could be articulated with such tranquility. His high spirits and pride were unparalleled. There was seemingly no one else like him in the world. While youthful confidence is commendable, excessive arrogance may verge on hubris. It is prudent for the young to maintain a degree of humility and respect towards their elders, lest they invite unforeseen calamities. Many seized the opportunity to comment, their words tinged with an air of condescension. Several elites, visibly irked, derisively suggested that if Jiang Yuan was so confident, he should demonstrate his abilities for the benefit of those short-sighted frogs at the bottom of the well. After all, his statements had proven to be quite lethal. These elites, having served the Li family consortium for many years, were steeped in self-importance and pride. Although they had provoked Jiang Yuan first, they could hardly tolerate his retort. Even they dared not speak with such arrogant confidence before Li Jiqing, who was a paragon of beauty and grace, unmatched in the world. What man could remain unaffected by such a woman? Who would not feel compelled to be cautious and attentive in the presence of one so perfect? Yet here stood Jiang Yuan, the newly inducted youth, boldly proclaiming his worth before Li Jiqing, unabashedly showcasing himself. This truly vexed them, stirring a desire to confront Jiang Yuan in order to quell their inexplicable jealousy. Li Jiqing, as a prominent figure of her time, quickly regained her composure after an initial moment of shock. With her alabaster fingers, reminiscent of jade, she gently caressed the little head of the Ashera cat, gradually soothing it. Jiang Yuan, your confidence is commendable, indeed a virtue. If you believe it unnecessary to prove yourself to others, would you be willing to demonstrate your capabilities to me? Li Jiqing smiled. Under the glow of the crystal chandelier, her resplendent starry eyes resembled a pair of vortices capable of ensnaring one's soul, possessing a mythical allure that even Jiang Yuan found intoxicating. Her golden hair cascaded like a waterfall, reminiscent of the most exquisite rice ears in a fairy tale, dancing with an enchanting grace that seemed to tug at the heartstrings. After pondering for a moment, Jiang Yuan replied with a smile, I would be more than willing to showcase myself before such a stunning beauty. Li Jiqing, satisfied with his response, paid no heed to the jest in his words. She then turned to the other elite members and said, since you harbor doubts about Jiang Yuan's inclusion and the resources he has acquired, I presume my oral mediation has not fully convinced you. How about this? I happen to have a pressing dilemma that requires resolution. Would you be willing to compete with Jiang Yuan to see who can resolve it first? Upon hearing this, many of the elites eagerly spoke up, unwilling to be outdone. That would be splendid. We are keen to witness the capabilities of this newcomer, Jiang Yuan, and what merits he possesses to supplant Bruce in the presidential suite. Frankly, I am looking forward to Jiang Yuan's performance. However, the youth may be unaware of their limitations and might face some hardships, which could ultimately serve as a valuable lesson. What is this pressing dilemma, Miss Li? Please do share. We shall certainly endeavor to assist. Li Jiqing's tone grew serious as she began. In fact, 3 days ago, one of our consortium's vital revenue streams, the high-end chip business, encountered some complications. This order is tied to our financial plans for the next 5 years, with a total amount exceeding 100 billion. According to our informants, this significant order has been covertly intercepted by other consortiums through special connections. We now need to uncover which consortium or consortiums are collaborating to seize it and reclaim the order. Upon hearing Li Jiqing's words, many gasped in astonishment, promptly deciding to remain silent. This task was no trivial matter. It could even be deemed utterly impossible. Although the Li Consortium's chip business has thrived in recent years, its prominence has also incited envy among many. The chip industry has always been immensely lucrative, but with a limited market. The Li Consortium's substantial share inevitably means others receive less. This time, the order initially anticipated by the Li family was surreptitiously intercepted by someone. The audacity to undertake such an act undoubtedly points to one of the other 5 major conglomerates, or perhaps even a coalition of 2 or 3 of them. While Li Jiqing may casually refer to it as a troublesome predicament, it is, in truth, a sudden and calamitous disaster. The loss of market orders signifies that the competitors are utterly unrestrained, brazenly snatching away what was rightfully within one's grasp. Should one blindly become entangled in this affair, even personal safety may be imperiled. Jiang Yuan, listening attentively, silently concurred. According to old Li's assertions, other conglomerates indeed harbored intentions to assimilate the Li family enterprise. And this was likely a preliminary probe. Chapter 447. A formidable competitor, Jiang Yuan, stroked his chin, deep in contemplation on how to resolve the current predicament. Addressing the substantial loss of numerous orders posed a significant challenge. After all, the collaborators had chosen to betray the Li Consortium, possibly lured by enticing offers from rival manufacturers. And there might even be undisclosed agreements in place with them. Should the adversary be backed by a powerful consortium, any hasty attempts to negotiate through price reductions or even coercive tactics would likely yield little effect. To rectify the situation, the most efficient and least burdensome approach would be to implement targeted measures. However, the scant information at hand was a considerable hindrance. The primary disadvantage lay in the fact that the enemy operated in secrecy while they remained exposed, rendering them exceedingly passive. Undoubtedly, the first step should be to uncover the identity of those pilfering the orders and ascertain their strategies, essentially engaging in an information war. In the realm of semiconductor production, the Lee Consortium had emerged as one of the notable large-scale manufacturers in recent years. Although it had yet to compete with established giants in the high-end chip sector, it maintained a competitive edge in the mid to low-end market through cost-effectiveness. Even if it could not genuinely destabilize the foundations of these veteran manufacturers, it still posed a significant threat. The most likely suspects, therefore, were the veteran chip manufacturers and the consortia closely associated with them. After all, should the Lee Consortium's chip division falter and its funding chain fracture, these individuals would be the most immediate beneficiaries. Moreover, once the true nature of the adversary was elucidated, one of the most straightforward and brutal solutions would be to swiftly neutralize the enemy, thereby effortlessly resolving all ensuing issues. The loss of market orders and the collaborators' decision not to renew contracts were undoubtedly due to the availability of superior alternatives. If one could effectively obliterate these superior options, the current dilemma would be directly addressed. Ultimately, as long as the identity and tactics of the adversary were clarified, appropriate countermeasures could be effectively employed. While Jiang Yuan pondered these matters, an individual emerged from the crowd, boldly volunteering. Miss Lee, I have been discreetly investigating this issue for quite some time, and I believe I possess sufficient leads to resolve it within a day. At this proclamation, many were taken aback. While they were still deliberating strategies, someone had already acquired first-hand information and conducted the latest investigation. This person claimed to require merely a day to swiftly address the matter. Regardless of whether he may have exaggerated, the confidence and audacity to make such a declaration were enough to capture attention and astonishment. Jiang Yuan regarded this individual with interest, finding him quite intriguing. The man exuded an air of vigor and composure, standing impressively tall at approximately 6 feet 3 inches, with a well-tailored suit accentuating his elongated physique. He stands as one of the distinguished representatives among the elite. Although the Bruce Burnley Group was founded by individuals from the Dragon Nation and primarily seeks to recruit local talents, it remains open to welcoming exceptional foreign prodigies who wish to join. In this contemporary era, financial resources are not the paramount concern. Rather, the crux lies in talent. With the right talent, one can monopolize high-end manufacturing industries. Once a monopoly is established in the premium market, it is akin to possessing a money-printing machine, generating wealth effortlessly. Bruce is a member of the younger generation, an elite among the elite, truly a genius of remarkable distinction. Not only does he possess an illustrious family background, but his network is also astonishingly robust. His personal capabilities are exceptionally outstanding. Whether in theoretical knowledge or practical business competition cases, he is well-versed in all. Within a mere year of joining the Lee Group, he ascended to an exceedingly high position. His skills and connections remain impeccable throughout the organization. Originally, the apartment resources in Jianyuan were undoubtedly meant for Bruce, yet no one comprehended why Li Jiqing abruptly decided to allocate the apartment, a symbol of status, to Jianyuan. Bruce, ambitious and determined, has his sights set on Li Jiqing. Marrying her would naturally allow him to take the helm of the Lee Group, enabling him to fully unleash his aspirations and realize his grand vision. The current chip order crisis presents an excellent opportunity for him to showcase his capabilities. In Bruce's eyes, seizing this significant opportunity could not only win him a favorable impression from Li Jiqing, but also pave the way for his future leadership of the Lee Group. Competing on the global stage, Bruce has covertly prepared with utmost diligence. His approach is far more intricate than he portrays. He possesses a wealth of clues, having dispatched individuals to conduct thorough investigations, and he has invested considerable time in preparation. The situation is undeniably advantageous for him. Many elites cast envious glances at Bruce, acutely aware that this formidable man is likely to emerge as the ultimate victor of this incident. Li Jiqing smiled gently and declared, "Thus, the matter is settled. Whoever can resolve this crisis within a specified time frame shall be awarded the highest honor." A flicker of ambition ignited in Bruce's eyes as he excused himself and eagerly returned to prepare for the task at hand. Observing his assertive demeanor, others hastily took their leave as well, rushing back to strategize and devise countermeasures. Even if they believed their chances against Bruce were slim, it did not imply they would succumb to despair or passively await their fate. Hope is always forged through one's relentless efforts. How can one ascertain their capabilities without making an attempt? The atmosphere within the venue suddenly became charged with competitiveness. Most individuals resolved to return immediately to prepare for this endeavor, and Jiang Yuan was also inclined to follow the crowd out of the space. However, just as he turned, he was promptly called back by Li Jiqing. Jiang Yuan, could you spare a moment alone? I have a few words I wish to share with you, Li Jiqing said, a faint smile gracing her lips. Chapter 448. A private conversation. As Jiang Yuan was preparing to leave, he was called by Li Jiqing. Had it been anyone else in this slightly tense moment, he might have felt a tinge of impatience. After all, time was of the essence, and time equated to life itself. However, with an enchanting beauty like Li Jiqing extending an invitation, the situation was entirely different. There were few men in the world capable of declining her allure, and Jiang Yuan certainly would not be among them. With a smile, he replied, Miss Li, is there something you wish to discuss? Li Jiqing returned the smile, gesturing invitingly as she said, I have some matters I would like to speak to you about privately. Shall we retreat to a quieter room? Would you be willing? Jiang Yuan, with graciousness, smiled in return and said, since such a beautiful lady has invited me, how could I dare to dampen the mood? I'm most willing. As the two engaged in light-hearted conversation, their demeanor and gestures exhibited an intimacy that belied the fact that this was their first meeting. Nearby, several elite individuals observed this scene, their eyes nearly ablaze with envy. They could not fathom why Jiang Yuan, a man who was merely handsome and had some opposition to the Tiantang Consortium, would garner such admiration from Miss Li. It was perplexing indeed. After all, Miss Li was a woman, and what woman could claim to be entirely immune to the charms of a handsome man? Such women were either made of stone or had yet to be born. One individual, filled with indignation, muttered, Bah, Jiang Yuan is nothing but a pretty boy. A man's worth lies in his inner qualities, and this fellow, relying solely on his looks, is a disgrace to all men. The group glanced at this disgruntled man, noting his height of less than 5 feet, his face resembling that of a plump bun, with features so squished together that he bore a striking resemblance to a hapless vendor selling pancakes. They could not help but express a measure of sympathy, patting his shoulder and offering consolation. Though we may find Jiang Yuan's good looks irritating, let us refrain from deluding ourselves with such self-deceptive notions about a man's worth. Your sentiment is well placed. Perhaps next time, keep such thoughts to yourself, they advised him. The man, enraged by their remarks, nearly sputtered in frustration. Does being attractive grant one the freedom to act as they please? The group shrugged, adopting a look of resignation. They chose not to engage in an argument with him, recognizing that time was precious, and they had no desire to waste it on such meaningless disputes. Consequently, they hastily returned to their respective suites, beginning to strategize on how to tackle their current mission. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan walked alongside Li Jiqing into the private room. Once they had distanced themselves from the crowd, Li Jiqing exhaled softly, as though her body had relaxed slightly. Jiang Yuan took a moment to observe the room's decor. The wallpaper and furnishings were predominantly pink, suggesting it was a temporary setup with a youthful, feminine aesthetic. As Jiang Yuan inhaled slightly, he was greeted by a fragrance reminiscent of a young girl's delicate perfume. Li Jiqing, noticing his reaction, did not take offense but rather politely invited him to take a seat. On the table, a pot of fragrant tea, already brewed, was releasing a gentle steam. Jiang Yuan, I believe you must have some questions, Li Jiqing stated directly. Do you know why I have assigned you the most prestigious presidential suite? Jiang Yuan nodded, acknowledging that this was indeed an unusual occurrence. After all, he had just arrived and had yet to demonstrate any capabilities, having merely relied on a letter of commission to secure such advantageous resources. This naturally piqued his curiosity. However, Jiang Yuan was reluctant to divulge the truth about the matter concerning Li's elder, and instead ventured, perhaps it is due to your uncle's letter of commission? Li Jiqing shook her head with a smile, responding, while my uncle undoubtedly holds considerable influence, I would not allocate resources indiscriminately based solely on a piece of paper. After pondering for a moment, Jiang Yuan suggested, perhaps you wish to help me establish authority and diminish the influence of the foreigner named Bruce within Li Corporation? Li Jiqing was momentarily taken aback. She had not anticipated Jiang Yuan's keen intellect and his ability to swiftly discern the situation, as if he were reading her very thoughts. Although Jiang Yuan had only tentatively posed a couple of questions, each was strikingly accurate. Even the secretary who worked closely with Li Jiqing daily likely lacked Jiang Yuan's almost telepathic insight, which was truly remarkable. Li Jiqing then sought to further test Jiang Yuan, inquiring, what do you believe is the fastest way to establish authority? Without hesitation, Jiang Yuan replied, the answer to that question is quite simple. To quickly establish authority, One must undertake an action that provokes widespread discontent, yet leaves others powerless to challenge you. Initially, everyone may resist and disapprove of you, collectively opposing your efforts. However, over time, as they realize that their resistance and disapproval are utterly futile, a sense of helplessness will begin to emerge within them. This feeling of powerlessness, in turn, lays the foundation for authority. Li Jiqing clapped her hands in appreciation, exclaiming, "Well said. Now, why do you think I wish to weaken Bruce's position?" Jiang Yuan replied calmly. The Li Corporation was founded by individuals from Dragon Country, and naturally, the aim is to consolidate power within the hands of the Dragon people. While we may utilize foreigners and even grant them significant authority, it is inconceivable to relinquish the entire corporation to them. The more capable and influential a foreigner like Bruce becomes, the more it resembles a double-edged sword. Although he can bring substantial benefits to the Li Corporation, he will also gradually cultivate his own faction and network, likely encroaching upon the internal connections of the Li Corporation due to his status and abilities. Li Jiqing fell silent for a moment, unable to find her voice, and could only applaud Jiang Yuan, her applause echoing in appreciation. "You are remarkably astute, truly impressive. With nothing but your personal intuition and exceedingly scant clues, you have managed to predict the facts with astonishing accuracy. It is no wonder my uncle holds you in such high regard," Li Jiqing sincerely remarked. Jiang Yuan replied calmly, "You flatter me. I have yet to resolve the current predicament. The establishment of authority and the potential diminishment of Bruce's status fundamentally hinge upon whether I can successfully navigate this order incident." Li Jiqing smiled and said, "A splendid life is reserved for the victors. I wholeheartedly wish for you to be the one who ultimately triumphs, and I hope you shall not disappoint me." Chapter 449. The superiority of the Dragon Nation. Jiang Yuan had thoughts he refrained from voicing. For some harsh realities are often too daunting to contemplate. Namely, what will be the consequences of one's inadequacy in strength? Li Jiqing's actions bore a striking resemblance to a desperate gambit. Without consulting him, she unilaterally granted preferential treatment to herself as a newcomer, allocating prime resources that incited jealousy and discontent among the core elite, consequently placing him in their crosshairs. In this scenario, Li Jiqing subsequently presented a formidable task, calling for fair competition among all, thereby compelling Jiang Yuan to establish his own renown through merit. Should he prove competent, all would rejoice. She stood to gain not only a formidable ally, but also to diminish Bruce's influence within the consortium. Conversely, if Jiang Yuan failed, the outcome would be dire, facing the risk of dismissal and potential collective retribution from his peers. In essence, the Li Consortium did not welcome ineptitude. This was merely a ruse orchestrated by Li Jiqing. She resembled a queen wielding the scepter of power on a chessboard, with everyone else merely as her pawns. Faced with such a power-centric woman, Jiang Yuan found himself intrigued, as he had yet to encounter anyone so ambitious and astutely strategic, igniting within him a desire for conquest. However, as an adult, many matters are understood without the need for explicit discussion. Moreover, Jiang Yuan's disposition was inherently domineering and self-assured, rendering him unlikely to engage in disputes over the potential misfortune of failure. The survival of the fittest. This Darwinian model of society was one with which he was already well acquainted. After a moment's contemplation, Li Jiqing inquired, "Jiang Yuan, I pose to you one final question. Where do you believe the superiority of our Dragon Nation lies? In comparison to foreigners, what advantages do we truly possess?" Jiang Yuan's gaze flickered, understanding that she was testing him. After all, within the Li Consortium, the foreigner Bruce was steadily encroaching upon valuable resources and connections. If the power and resources could not be firmly retained in the hands of the Dragon Nation, the Li Consortium might inevitably fall into foreign hands, with consequences that could be unimaginable. She sought an answer, an affirming statement regarding the Dragon Nation. Why must the leadership of the Li Consortium be vested in the hands of the Dragon Nation and not in foreigners? Jiang Yuan replied calmly. The answer to that question is not mine to provide. It is answered by our long and illustrious history. As the saying goes, the great river flows eastward, washing away countless historical figures. Our civilization has endured for 5 millennia without interruption, a testament to its superiority. This lengthy and profound history serves as a veritable encyclopedia of humanities and social sciences. Indeed, the challenges we face today can invariably find resolution within the annals of history. Throughout our history, remarkable individuals have bequeathed us an immeasurable wealth of cultural treasures. In contrast, the histories of foreign nations span merely a few centuries. I have always believed that the superiority possessed by the people of our Dragon Nation is deeply rooted and resilient, capable of withstanding the test of time. After listening to Jiang Yuan's response, Li Jiqing fell into a profound silence, contemplating his words. After a considerable pause, she let out a soft sigh, inwardly acknowledging Jiang Yuan as a rare debater of exceptional talent. His answer was flawless, perhaps even excessively so, perfectly aligning with her thoughts. However, while there is no shortage of eloquent speakers in the world, those with genuine talent and knowledge are indeed as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Only if Jiang Yuan can resolve the issue concerning the billion-dollar chip order will she truly recognize him from the depths of her heart. Otherwise, he may merely be seen as a purveyor of empty rhetoric. After receiving a satisfactory reply, Li Jiqing exchanged a few pleasantries with Jiang Yuan. However, their conversation was brief, and they soon bid each other good night, with Jiang Yuan turning to leave the inner chamber. At this moment, time was of the essence, and no moment could be squandered. The billion-dollar chip order was pressing, and numerous elites were vying for the credit. Jiang Yuan knew he could not remain idle. Following the guidance of the hotel's executive staff, he swiftly arrived at his own suite. Yet, to Jiang Yuan's astonishment, the room's opulence was beyond anything he had ever encountered. The sheer size of the suite was dozens of times that of a standard room, and the luxurious facilities and amenities within were of an entirely different realm. In comparison, any other room seemed rather meager. No wonder the elite members of the board expressed such discontent regarding his acquisition of this suite. Jiang Yuan suddenly grasped the significance of his elevated status. Compared to his accommodations, theirs appeared utterly inadequate, a stark contrast between heaven and earth. Yao Wenwen and Xiao Yan were equally elated, admiring the suite's lavish features. Feeling a sense of pride in Jiang Yuan's fortune, they eagerly urged him to enter the room. However, before he could step inside, Jiang Yuan caught sight of a man nearby, whose demeanor was rebellious and proud, casting a scrutinizing gaze in his direction. A frown creased Jiang Yuan's brow as he instinctively sensed an air of danger. Though the man was not particularly imposing in stature and did not exude an obvious threat, Jiang Yuan's keen intuition detected that he was no ordinary individual. This man was Zhang Tianheng of the Tianfeng Consortium, and he was not here specifically for Jiang Yuan. Rather, he was intrigued to learn that the Li Consortium had relinquished their highest-tier suite to a newcomer. His curiosity compelled him to investigate, and coincidentally, he encountered Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan felt a surge of apprehension. The man's aura was peculiar, unlike any expert he had previously encountered. This was a man of profound terror. It was not only Jiang Yuan who was astonished. Zhang Tianheng was even more taken aback. This Jiang Yuan. How could he have acquired such exceptional resources? To reside in the highest-grade suite, Zhang Tianheng could not help but exclaim in surprise. The Li family consortium was surprisingly generous towards him. Could it be that this Jiang Yuan harbors some earth-shattering secret? After a moment of contemplation, Zhang Tianheng resolved to remain discreet and chose to quietly turn away. Upon seeing him depart, Jiang Yuan also entered the room. Once back in the suite, Jiang Yuan discussed the intricacies of the monumental trillion-yuan chip order with Xiao Yan and Yao Wenwen. Chapter 450. The Good Council of Qin at 10:30 in the evening. Jiang Yuan stood by the crystal window, gazing out at a breathtaking natural seascape under the night sky. The salty sea breeze mingled with the rhythmic sounds of crashing waves, creating a picturesque tableau. However, at this moment, no one possessed the heart to appreciate this pristine beauty. After all, while beauty may be abundant, opportunities are fleeting and often vanish before one can afford a moment of regret. Jiang Yuan had just engaged in a discussion with Xiao Yan and another companion, arriving at a preliminary plan to address the recent crisis. The issue of the stolen order ultimately stemmed from the allure of greater profits enticing the collaborating merchants. Consequently, they chose to abandon the Li Consortium, seeking refuge in the arms of other financial entities. Thus, by discerning the demands of the opposing side, there exists a chance for resolution. The current breakthrough lies within the merchants from Longhua. If Jiang Yuan can devise a strategy to extract intelligence from these collaborators, the problem can be effectively addressed. Armed with a formidable intelligence network, a powerful asset derived from the Su family, Jiang Yuan recognized the folly of not leveraging it to its fullest potential. His thoughts were remarkably lucid. He understood precisely what resources he possessed and when to deploy them. Jiang Yuan promptly issued orders for his subordinates to investigate all available information regarding the collaborators, aiming to uncover critical points that could resolve the predicament. Yao Wenwen and Xiao Yan diligently joined the intelligence-gathering efforts, utilizing the names of the Li Consortium's collaborators provided by Jiang Yuan to begin their research. Once this crisis concludes, the World Banquet is set to commence the following evening at 6:30. Before arriving here, Jiang Yuan had not anticipated the schedule would be so demanding. On the very first day, he received an invitation from Li Jiqing of the Li Consortium, along with a task disseminated to all attendees. The success or failure of this mission resembles a process of elimination. Failing to demonstrate sufficient capability could result in direct disqualification, a harsh reality. When has this world ever shown gentleness? If one perceives the world as kind, it is often because someone bears the weight of its harshness on their behalf. The prevailing theme of existence remains an unforgiving process of elimination, where the tenets of social Darwinism prevail as an unchanging truth. Fortunately, Jiang Yuan was well accustomed to this reality, bolstered by a myriad of hidden advantages, instilling him with the confidence to tackle any challenge. Silently, Jiang Yuan accessed the system, perusing the array of cards representing abilities he could embody. At critical junctures, he could wield these cards to turn the tide and vanquish the adversaries that obstructed his path. Yet, unless absolutely necessary, he intended to refrain from deploying these trump cards prematurely. The current scarcity of these cards renders them akin to ephemeral consumables, utilized once, diminished thereafter. Thus, he is understandably reluctant to employ them lightly. He has deliberately ensured a robust fallback, refraining from revealing his true hand prematurely. Furthermore, as the days have progressed, the confidence and pride within Jiang Yuan have burgeoned. He yearns to tackle every challenge using his intellect and self-assurance, while simultaneously wishing to gauge the extent of his capabilities. The intelligence network of the Su family from the Dragon Kingdom is remarkably potent. It operates as an extraordinarily formidable information-gathering machine. Had it not been for the Su family's hesitance to invest excessively in this colossal financial abyss, the contest with Jiang Yuan would likely not have concluded so simply. However, times have changed. With Jiang Yuan having sufficiently bolstered their funding, this information machine has begun to exhibit unparalleled performance. In less than an hour, Jiang Yuan has already unearthed substantial information regarding collaborators from the Li Consortium. Fantastic. Boss, we need not worry this time. If we can secure one of these collaborators and use our cunning to extract the identity of the mastermind behind it all, everything will naturally fall into place, exclaimed Yao Wenwan, her face alight with excitement, reminiscent of a blossoming peach flower. Yet the cautious Xiao Yin shook her head, cautioning, things are not that simple. Those collaborators will not easily acquiesce to us. We must find ways to compel their allegiance or persuade them that it is in their interest to cooperate with us. After a moment of contemplation, Jiang Yuan meticulously selected a collaborator named Tianhua, hailing from the Dragon Kingdom. Swiftly, through the intelligence network, he acquired the personal phone number of the company's president. Jiang Yuan then sent a private email to this president, articulating his intentions and the identity of the Li Consortium, earnestly requesting a dialogue. After approximately 10 minutes, the other party, seemingly hesitant, ultimately opted to take Jiang Yuan's call. On the other end, a frail voice inquired, "Are you from the Li Consortium?" Jiang Yuan replied, "Yes, sir. May I first ask why there is a sudden alteration in the order? Are there other consortia pressuring you to change your partners?" After a prolonged silence, the other party remained reticent. Jiang Yuan, however, was not anxious. He patiently awaited a response. "You have no idea what kind of adversary you are facing." He sighed deeply, his voice imbued with helplessness and sorrow. "Their strength vastly surpasses what we can contend with. This is a matter beyond our control." He felt a profound sense of helplessness, recognizing that often, individuals are neither purely good nor entirely evil. Most are merely ordinary people striving for survival, nothing more. Faced with an utterly hopeless battlefield, for the sake of his family and the livelihoods of his employees, reluctantly chose to make concessions. After all, refusal comes at a cost, and this cost varies for different individuals. These small-scale collaborators had no room for choice whatsoever. A glimmer flickered in Jiang Yuan's eyes as he realized that the other party believed his side had no chance of victory. Thus, they merely offered kind advice out of a sense of camaraderie as fellow countrymen. If he could not demonstrate sufficient strength, it was likely that the other party would not recognize him, let alone submit to him. Chapter 451. Epoch-making technology. Jiang Yuan understood deep within his heart that at this juncture, he must demonstrate a strength formidable enough to counter his adversaries. Otherwise, given the despondency of the cooperative merchant from Longhua, he would merely lament and beseech him to abandon his efforts. Such entreaties would stem solely from a sense of kinship. Were he an outsider, he would likely disregard Jiang Yuan entirely. Remaining unperturbed, Jiang Yuan smiled softly and inquired, "Dear sir, it seems you harbor some grievances. Might you share your unspoken concerns? I believe that your well-meaning counsel indicates you are a person of deep emotions and loyalties." The merchant sighed once more, and Jiang Yuan could almost envision the merchant's woeful expression through the telephone. "Do you comprehend the caliber of the opponent you are facing? Their capabilities are sufficient to crush any renowned conglomerate in this world." Jiang Yuan replied with a smile, "It appears you doubt my strength, believing that our collaboration carries no chance of success. Is that not so?" The merchant fell silent, opting instead for another deep sigh, clearly conceding to Jiang Yuan's assertion. After all, from his perspective, this was a war devoid of the possibility of victory. Any resistance would merely lead to humiliation and coercion from the adversary. Surrendering unconditionally and acquiescing to all demands would be the choice of the wise. Jiang Yuan pressed further. "From your tone, it seems you are not entirely willing to concede. Why not articulate your thoughts and facilitate a dialogue?" The merchant remained silent for a long moment before finally speaking. "If you truly wish to know, I can, in consideration of our shared nationality, enlighten you, so you may abandon this delusion. Are you aware of the terrifying technological prowess of our adversaries? They have developed an unprecedented lithography machine technology. Previously, the most advanced lithography technology in the world could only achieve a precision of 7 nanometers. But do you know what the precision has reached? An astounding 2 nanometers. He articulated each word with gravity. "Do you grasp the implications of this?" Jiang Yuan furrowed his brow, sensing the complexity of the situation. The merchant, animated and nearly shouting, declared, "This lithography machine represents a groundbreaking technology, embodying the pinnacle of human ingenuity. They are destined to be etched in the annals of history. If it were merely conventional lithography technology, it would be one thing, but their internal technological advancements are extraordinarily formidable, beyond the comprehension of ordinary individuals like us. It is now universally acknowledged that the future of the global chip industry will be firmly in their grasp. We stand no chance whatsoever." Listening intently, Jiang Yuan fell silent, acutely aware that the merchant's words bore a ring of truth. He had not anticipated matters would evolve in such a fashion. Jiang Yuan recognized that unless his side could present technology capable of rivaling the lithography machine, not only would the current predicament remain insurmountable, but future opportunities for resistance would dwindle even further. Photolithography technology has always been a fiercely contested domain among nations around the globe. The sole reason for this rivalry lies in the concept of technological monopoly. Today, chips permeate every facet of human society, whether in mobile devices, graphics cards, CPUs, or myriad other realms of cutting-edge technology, with chips being of paramount importance. The advent of a novel photolithography technology would signify the ability to secure a unique patent. It matters not whether those who exploit this patent may engage in fierce competition over exorbitant licensing fees. Even a standard photolithography patent can incite envy and desire, symbolizing a nation's stature on the world stage. This era unequivocally belongs to technology. An exceptional technological patent transcends monetary valuation. While it may suffice to speak of ordinary photolithography techniques, after all, the Dragon Nation possesses some mid-tier technology. What was unforeseen was the audacity of adversaries who have secretly completed development of revolutionary 3 nanometers photolithography technology. In an instant, Jiang Yuan felt the profound resignation and despair of these collaborators, and it is no wonder they opted for capitulation, abandoning the Li Consortium with whom they had partnered for years in favor of a new alliance. It is essential to recognize that trust is paramount in business. Had they not reached a point of utter desperation, they would not have chosen to betray the Li Consortium. Do you comprehend the implications? The future of the semiconductor industry will likely belong to those consortiums that master this leading-edge 3 nanometers photolithography technology. Once again, the Dragon Nation's partners expressed their helplessness. "I am merely a bystander, a mere consumer of their leftovers. Even if I wished to continue collaborating with the Li Consortium, how many would be willing to engage in a battle devoid of any prospect of victory?" Jiang Yuan remained silent, having already set his phone to speaker mode, allowing Yao Wenwen and Xiaoyan to listen intently to the unfolding discourse. "It is exceedingly difficult. The 3 nanometers photolithography technology, if I were in their shoes, I too would likely sever ties with the Li Consortium," Xiaoyan remarked, shaking her head. As a graduate in a STEM field, she possessed a substantial foundation in hardware knowledge, enabling her to grasp the formidable challenges inherent in producing such advanced technology far better than the average person. In her view, even Jiang Yuan, who had triumphed in countless battles, stood little chance of success this time. After all, in the face of overwhelming technological superiority, no amount of sacrifice, expenditure, or ruthless tactics would yield any advantage. This is an inherently unequal contest. In this technological age, leading advancements create a chasm, obstructing the progress of ordinary individuals. Only a true genius can venture into such a realm of technology, with an abundance of financial support and decades of dedication. It may be possible to achieve advancements in science. Boss, perhaps we should concede. This time, we might indeed face defeat. Yao Wenwen also displayed a hint of despair on her face. The opposition had meticulously prepared for a long time, boasting top-tier resources and talent, enabling them to develop such a groundbreaking lithography machine. We possess no chance of victory. Jiang Yuan glanced at the two young women with a smile and said, "Do you both believe I will lose?" Xiao Yin and Yao Wenwen hesitated for a moment, but ultimately nodded in agreement. With a playful smile, Jiang Yuan proposed, "Then how about we make a wager? If I can resolve this situation, what will you prepare to concede to me?" Chapter 452. The ace. Jiang Yuan's confident words momentarily stunned the two girls. Subsequently, they could not help but smile wryly and shook their heads, saying, "Boss, please do not jest with us any further. This situation is truly unlike any we have encountered before. Our opponent has meticulously orchestrated this trap, and we have merely one day to act. What can we possibly achieve in such a limited time? It would be wiser to cut our losses now." Their sentiments mirrored those of the business partners. Many held a straightforward perspective: engage in battles that can be won, and retreat from those that cannot. For that is the true path to success. Given that they were now aware of the formidable weaponry at the opponent's disposal, armed with nearly invincible technology, any resistance seemed futile. The advanced lithography technology signified not only reduced costs, but also enhanced performance and an unparalleled market share. The mere superiority in performance could create a disparity of unimaginable proportions. Any client would inevitably gravitate towards products that offered the best value for their money. If others could provide cheaper products with superior performance, how could one compete? It was akin to facing a knife fight against bullets. Perhaps one might charge forth driven by sheer passion, but when faced with an onslaught of artillery, surrender becomes the only sensible choice. Even an ordinary person devoid of cunning would choose to concede after evaluating the strengths of both sides. This was even truer for the shrewd business partners well-versed in the intricacies of commerce. One must understand that the chip industry permeates every facet of life, from high-end smartphones and computers to sophisticated household appliances. Each type of chip necessitates an astonishing production volume, and the savings accrued from this would amount to astronomical figures. Moreover, we are discussing 2 nanometers lithography technology. Once reaching the nanometer scale, every 1 nanometer improvement becomes exceedingly arduous. Ascending from 7 nanometers to 2 nanometers transcends mere high-end chip technology. It represents a groundbreaking leap into the realm of superchip technology. In the face of such technological prowess, all strategies appear laughable and ineffectual. Every clever scheme reduces to mere self-delusion. Xiaoyan immediately cautioned, "Boss, perhaps you are being overly confident this time. My academic background is rooted in the theoretical study of such engineering disciplines, and I am acutely aware of the challenges inherent in this technology. I can assert that any enterprise that masters this lithography technology will face no competition whatsoever. This is undoubtedly a premeditated scheme, requiring over a decade of technological accumulation, countless talented individuals, and investments exceeding trillions to achieve successful development." Yao Wenwen, listening intently, was left somewhat astonished, her jaw nearly agape. Though she lacked understanding of lithography and chip technology, the gravity in Xiao Yan's earnest tone conveyed the seriousness of the situation. Yao Wenwen expressed her concerns, stating that the opposing party had invested over a decade in time, countless resources and talent, whereas they had merely 1 day at their disposal, rendering them utterly powerless. "Boss, perhaps we should reconsider our involvement in this domain. After all, preserving our resources allows for future opportunities elsewhere. We could surely regain our footing in other fields." After articulating her thoughts, she fell into a contemplative silence. This venue was the site of a grand global banquet, and the current predicament marked a critical moment for Jiang Yuan, who had recently joined the Li Consortium aiming to establish his reputation. A failure in this endeavor would undeniably result in a significant loss of face, not just for Jiang Yuan, but would also provide fodder for ridicule among foreign observers. Even more troubling was the foreign national named Bruce, who had been eyeing the Li Consortium and Li Jiqing with keen interest. Should Jiang Yuan concede defeat, acknowledging his failure? And if Bruce were to successfully navigate and resolve this crisis, it would undoubtedly elevate Bruce's standing within the Li Consortium. His influence would grow, granting him greater authority over various matters, potentially leading to a factional shift that could marginalize the Dragon Nationals and replace them with others, heralding a thorough overhaul of the Consortium's leadership. In the future, the inclusion of Dragon Nationals among the world's top 5 conglomerates would become increasingly challenging, jeopardizing their status. A loss in this contest would carry catastrophic repercussions. Thus, the notion of recovering in other arenas was merely a self-soothing platitude. Yet, given the lack of alternatives, they might have to acquiesce to this course of action, despite the profound discomfort it evoked. In response to the entreaties of the two women, Jiang Yuan calmly instructed, "You both are to inform all our partners that the Li Consortium will announce significant developments tomorrow afternoon." Yao Wenwen and Xiao Yan were taken aback. What was their boss planning? Did he not realize how unfavorable the current circumstances were? They were devoid of viable options, while the opposition boasted revolutionary technological advancements. And Bruce claimed to possess numerous trump cards to tackle the situation. They felt utterly unarmed and ill-equipped to confront them. However, they refrained from voicing their apprehensions, reluctantly adhering to Jiang Yuan's directives. They understood his stubborn nature well. No matter how they urged him, he was unlikely to heed their counsel. They could only hope that perhaps Jiang Yuan had some unforeseen strategy in mind. They dispatched an email to all partners, announcing a momentous announcement scheduled for around 3 o'clock the following afternoon, using the name of the Li Consortium as the sender. Despite the fact that these partners had chosen to abandon the Li Consortium in favor of other alliances. However, this does not imply that they are inherently untrustworthy individuals. Rather, they are compelled to yield in the face of insurmountable power. They are acutely aware that resistance is but a futile endeavor. For a businessman, the most paramount asset is trust. As the saying goes, leave a thread of hope for future encounters. Given that the Li Consortium possesses something they wish to present, it is only natural for them to maintain a semblance of dignity. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan quietly extracted a roll card from the system. Chapter 453. The pompous Bruce at long last. Jiang Yuan's trump card was poised to be unleashed. Even he could scarcely believe that he would employ this ace so soon. The upcoming global banquet promised dangers, far exceeding his expectations. Upon his arrival, he was confronted with an unprecedented situation as his adversary unveiled groundbreaking photolithography technology. The enemy aimed to seize a substantial piece of the Li family's empire, and this would neither be the first nor the last attempt. Yet, with every challenge comes an opportunity. Risk and reward are invariably intertwined. Jiang Yuan held steadfast confidence in his ability to resolve any predicament. His role-playing card, named the Supreme Engineer card, though merely a one-time use, harbored an efficiency that was nothing short of terrifying. The action he was about to undertake deviated from his original plan, which had been to ascertain the identity of the opposing consortium. However, circumstances had shifted. Although his collaborator did not disclose the name of the rival consortium, Jiang Yuan remained assured that, with the Supreme Engineer card, he could devise technology that would outpace his opponents. Regardless of their identity or numbers, in the face of absolute technological superiority, they appeared remarkably impotent. Jiang Yuan eagerly anticipated the inaugural use of this extraordinary card, curious to discover the extent of its capabilities and the surprises it would unveil for him. Meanwhile, Bruce, the radiant core member of the Li family's consortium, exuded confidence as he sat leisurely in the conference room, flanked by 2 smiling secretaries. He bore an expression of assured victory, entirely devoid of pressure. Occupying the 16th floor of a skyscraper, he gazed through the transparent glass windows, surveying the entire island with a sense of calm. Prior to this visit, he had meticulously prepared for the monumental chip order, convinced that it would pose no challenge for him. This confidence stemmed from a meticulously crafted plan that promised absolute certainty of success. No one could have anticipated, nor would they believe, that he possessed such a scheme. This plan involved discreetly infiltrating the Paradise Consortium with the aid of an informant, intending to stealthily retrieve their commercial secrets, specifically the blueprints for the 2nm photolithography machine. Indeed, while such groundbreaking technology was exceedingly rare, it was merely a matter of time before it became his. Once he could pilfer this core technology, all advantages held by the rival consortium would vanish. Moreover, Bruce enjoyed a unique advantage. Even if others aspired to replicate his actions, they would find it impossible. Paradise Consortium. Huh. No matter how astute you are, could you ever fathom that one of your executives is, in fact, an informant from the Byrne family? Bruce mused triumphantly. Our family has long harbored ambitions to annex the Paradise Consortium, a plan conceived a decade ago. How could you possibly comprehend that no amount of profit can sway one who is willing to sacrifice everything for their family? Indeed, the notion of stealing trade secrets has crossed the minds of many, particularly upon learning that the Paradise Consortium has developed a revolutionary technology. Numerous individuals have sought to bribe insiders to extract even a fragment of information regarding this confidential technology. However, such groundbreaking advancements are utterly impervious to leaks. The reasoning is straightforward. This caliber of technology is safeguarded as a state secret. Only those of high rank within the Paradise Consortium are privy to this confidentiality, and such individuals are exceedingly rare. No more than 5 can be found, even when considering the entire consortium. Although many may desire to betray this trust, they lack the requisite access. Those who could divulge secrets would never do so for any ulterior motives, unless they are exceptional outliers who, after years of patience and subterfuge, pursue their convictions without being seduced by power or lust. The Byrne family, to which Bruce belongs, excels at cultivating such infiltrators. One of the key figures wielding power within the Paradise Consortium is a critical informant from the Bruce family. With his presence, Bruce possesses the confidence to undertake the monumental task of securing a $1 trillion chip order. While the Paradise Consortium boasts advanced lithography technology, if Bruce's faction possesses equally formidable assets, then the opponent's advantage would be utterly obliterated. A secretary interjected, suggesting attention be paid to a young man named Jiang Yuan, as Li Jiqing seemed particularly interested in him, potentially making him an unpredictable variable. Furthermore, it was rumored that his reputation within Longhua was remarkably prominent, garnering respect even from the old guard in the patent and technology bureaus. Upon hearing Jiang Yuan's name, the previously jovial smile on Bruce's face vanished, replaced by a more ominous gaze. Jiang Yuan, that scoundrel who seemingly emerged from nowhere. Li Jiqing merely sought to use him to undermine my standing within the Li family. What capabilities does that young man possess to challenge me? Longhua is merely Longhua. What significance does its internal strength hold in the eyes of true, noble families like ours? The secretary, observing Bruce's arrogance, felt an increasing sense of concern and urged caution. Yet before he could finish, Bruce impatiently interrupted, declaring, "Your overly cautious disposition is unwarranted. How much threat can a mere country bumpkin from Longhua pose to us? This $1 trillion order is far beyond the likes of him to influence. Only the informants cultivated within our Bruce family can assist us in stealing the lithography machine blueprints from our adversaries, ensuring our resounding triumph. No matter how formidable Jiang Yuan may be, he possesses no chance of victory in this matter. I suspect he remains oblivious to the fact that the true orchestrator behind this scheme is the Heavenly Consortium." With his hands tucked into his pockets, Bruce gazed silently upon the picturesque island, his eyes ablaze with the fervor of desire and the glimmer of ambition. If he can achieve a remarkable performance in this incident, his standing within the consortium will naturally ascend. Subsequently, dismantling and absorbing the Li Consortium from within will be a mere trifle. Chapter 454. The divine-level research and development of Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan did not retreat to the comfort of a luxurious presidential suite to indulge in slumber. Instead, he sought out an exceptionally secluded room. He then instructed his subordinates to procure various engineering components for him. Although Jiang Yuan was an ordinary science student, his academic background was limited to computer science, rendering him somewhat inept when it came to the specifics of engineering applications. However, as he retrieved a divine-level engineer identity card from his pocket, the card emitted a radiant shimmer, and a torrent of memories surged into his consciousness, akin to a cinematic montage playing on a loop. In that moment, an array of unfamiliar technical jargon, terms such as wafers, integrated circuits, etchants, and extreme ultraviolet light, gradually became more familiar. He suddenly perceived this knowledge as a mere membrane, easily pierced. The notion of a lithography machine no longer seemed insurmountable. Just then, the door was rapped upon vigorously, and he heard Xiaoyan's voice from outside. "Mr. Jiang, we have procured everything you requested according to the list, and the quality of the materials is quite commendable. They should meet your needs," she stated respectfully. Jiang Yuan, deeply engrossed in the ocean of knowledge, had little time to attend to her. He opened the door, allowing his subordinates to carry in the items, and nonchalantly replied, "Very well, I understand. Leave the items, and you may go." Xiaoyan regarded Jiang Yuan with a hint of curiosity. Today he seemed somewhat peculiar, though she could not quite pinpoint what was amiss. After a moment's contemplation, she exclaimed in astonishment, "It's his demeanor. Jiang Yuan's aura seems reminiscent of, how should I put it?" Xiaoyan found herself incredulous, for typically, a person's demeanor does not undergo significant transformation in a short span. After all, one's aura reflects the books one has read and the paths one has traversed. Jiang Yuan's previous demeanor was somewhat carefree and unrestrained, akin to that of a free-spirited poet. Yet today, he bore the air of a scholar who had devoted years to his studies, exuding a profound seriousness and gravitas, reminiscent of fertile earth. This newfound demeanor did not render Jiang Yuan bookish. Rather, it instilled a sense of formidable security. Jiang Yuan in this guise appeared rather handsome. Though he had always been attractive, this particular allure felt distinctly different. Xiaoyan could not help but steal glances at him. Attractiveness, in essence, varies greatly. It can be categorized in numerous forms. Younger girls often gravitate towards a charmingly rebellious swagger, while others are more drawn to a composed, confident, and cool charisma. Upon witnessing Jiang Yuan's current demeanor, Xiaoyan could distinctly perceive the transformation from a charming rogue to an aura of cool sophistication. She found herself momentarily entranced, her heart racing with fervor. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan, noticing her lingering gaze, felt a surge of irritation. Did she truly find herself so captivated by him that she could hardly contain her desire? "If it is my physique you covet, we may engage in a more profound discourse on another day, but alas, I am currently preoccupied with pressing matters. Would you kindly take your leave?" At that moment, Jiang Yuan was immersed in a sea of knowledge, so engrossed that even the sound of an airplane alarm would not deter his ironclad focus. However, in a few days, he might revert to his previous LSP state once the Divine Engineer card loses its efficacy. Xiaoyan, upon receiving Jiang Yuan's dismissal, felt a pang of disappointment but complied, retreating from the room. As the door clicked shut, Jiang Yuan experienced a wave of relief. Women, it seemed, were the most troublesome distractions, diverting his attention from the captivating intricacies of engineering components. His mind was a fervent cauldron of engineering aspirations, his hands deftly manipulating various parts with the swiftness of the wind. While Jiang Yuan was deeply engrossed in his studies, Bruce found himself unable to contain his excitement. His demeanor was charged, nearly bursting forth with exclamations. He had received a confidential blueprint, a treasure of immense value. Upon acquiring the documents, he immediately commanded his subordinates to print them, the precious files now nestled within his grasp. Gazing at the papers, he felt an inferno of ambition and desire igniting within him. This was the coveted 2-nanometer lithography technology pilfered by his informants from within the Celestial Consortium. "Alert Li Ziqing, I have resolved this matter," Bruce exclaimed, his voice brimming with exhilaration. It seemed to be a family tradition among the Bruces to vocalize their fervor in such a boisterous manner when faced with thrilling developments. The groundbreaking lithography technology soon reached Li Ziqing's ears, along with news of Bruce's triumph. Taking a deep breath, she felt an indescribable heat surging within her chest. Had Jiang Yuan truly given up? Even if he was endorsed by her uncle, relying on such a young man seemed implausible. It appeared that the Li Consortium might indeed fall into the hands of the Bruce family. In truth, Li Ziqing felt a profound sense of helplessness. If given the choice, as a citizen of the Dragon Kingdom, she would undoubtedly prefer that the conglomerates belonging to her homeland remain in the hands of her fellow countrymen rather than fall into foreign ownership. However, there are times when circumstances are beyond her control, much like rain falling from the sky or a mother marrying off her daughter. Such realities leave no room for dissent. Should the current challenges in the realm of chips remain unresolved, the Li family's conglomerate would inevitably face accelerated absorption by other corporations. In order to survive, she finds herself compelled to rely on the Bruce family. The harsh truth is that, all too often, individuals are left with little choice in their fate. Chapter 455. Bruce's pride display. In this moment, Bruce was nearly overwhelmed with excitement, on the verge of laughter. Should he successfully conclude this endeavor, it was inevitable that Li Ziqing would be compelled to rely on the Bruce family as a prized possession. His ambition to consume the Li family's legacy could be fully realized. A dual triumph in both career and romance awaited him. By accomplishing this task, both the exquisite beauty of Li Ziqing and the Li Consortium's enterprise would be his for the taking. How could such prospects not ignite his fervor? Quickly relay my orders. Notify everyone involved in the interviews to convene once more. I must demonstrate to all and sundry that within a mere span of 6 hours, I have orchestrated everything flawlessly. Bruce could no longer contain himself and erupted into boisterous exclamations. This exuberance stemmed from the very marrow of the Bruce family's fervor. Amidst the promising landscape, his blood surged with unrestrained enthusiasm. Observing Bruce's exuberance, his secretary sensed a subtle disquiet. Things were progressing smoothly, perhaps too smoothly. Was it not peculiar that a mere command to procure blueprints could yield such immediate success? The simplicity of it all bordered on the unbelievable. Yet, unwilling to dampen his master's spirits with pessimistic musings, he stifled his unease. Perhaps he was merely overthinking. Very well. I shall follow his directives and plan for subsequent actions later, he resolved. As Bruce's secretary, he sincerely wished for Bruce to achieve his aspirations, yet many thoughts remained unvoiced. The Bruce family's traditions held a rigid hierarchy. A secretary was merely a servant, bound to obey their master's commands without question. Shaking his head, he decided against further contemplation. Perhaps he was indeed being overly cautious. Thus, he proceeded to inform all key personnel of the Lee Consortium to return to the conference room for another meeting. Upon receiving this news, the core members of the Lee Consortium were engulfed in astonishment and disbelief. Bruce, had he truly accomplished such a feat? Resolving a multi-billion chip order in less than 6 hours? The efficiency was nothing short of terrifying. Undoubtedly, Bruce, the third son of the Bruce family, was destined to supplant the Lee family in overseeing the entire consortium. It appeared Bruce had come well prepared. However, while facts spoke for themselves, this time he had indeed triumphed. Yet, what methods had Bruce employed to resolve this matter in such a brief time? Curiosity gnawed at them. Once Li Jiqing received the news, she hurried to the conference room, deeply concerned about the means by which Bruce had managed to address the situation so swiftly. The atmosphere within the conference room was exceedingly vibrant. Many present were loyal confidants of Bruce, who had already initiated preliminary infiltration of the Lee family consortium's core personnel. Should Bruce emerge victorious in this endeavor, they too would ascend to prosperity, reaping significant benefits alongside him. Notably, all of them were foreigners associated with the Bruce family, with scarcely a citizen from a Dragon Kingdom in sight. If the influence of these foreigners were to expand further, it would spell doom for the Dragon nationals seeking to establish themselves within the Lee Consortium. This scenario was akin to gradually replacing a person's blood with that of another. The essence of the Dragon Kingdom had already begun to be purged from the Lee Consortium, supplanted by foreign blood. Should Bruce succeed this time, it was likely that the entirety of the consortium would be dominated by foreigners. At that juncture, it would undoubtedly result in a collective catastrophe for the Dragon nationals. Within the conference room, Bruce stood at the center, brimming with confidence, which elicited a slight frown from Li Jiqing. His central position was traditionally hers, and it felt somewhat presumptuous. However, given Bruce's proclamation of having resolved the issue, he was undoubtedly the focal point of the gathering. If he truly had achieved this, occupying a central role seemed justifiable. Miss Lee, esteemed guests, I apologize for interrupting your rest. Although dawn has yet to break, I could hardly contain my excitement in sharing that I have found the perfect solution to the multi-billion-dollar order crisis, Bruce declared with a proud smile. While the attendees were already aware of the situation, many were still taken aback by Bruce's official announcement. What methods had he employed? His self-assured demeanor seemed overly audacious. How could he have formulated a solution overnight, even before the sun had risen? Li Jiqing, her expression devoid of emotion, inquired, "What exactly did you do?" Bruce executed a flawless bow and responded loudly. The crux of this matter lies in the adversary's possession of a 2 nanometers lithography technology. Coincidentally, our Bruce family has also nearly concurrently developed this technology. I am willing to contribute this breakthrough to save our consortium. Bruce's brief remarks sent tremors through the room. The prospect of 2 nanometers lithography technology. The Bruce family had the capability to develop such a legendary innovation. Everyone gazed at Bruce with profound astonishment, Li Jiqing included, her expression one of disbelief. Bruce reveled in the shock of the assembly, feeling as though he had just tasted honey, basking in the sweetness of their astonishment. Naturally, he had no intention of revealing the full truth. To speak the truth, this technology was originally acquired through the theft orchestrated by his informants, a fact that must remain unuttered. Conversely, if he were to claim that it was developed by his family, it would likely raise far fewer suspicions. After all, the Bruce family is a venerable lineage, having endured for over a century, reputed to possess a multitude of core scientific technologies. Utilizing his family's esteemed background to fabricate a narrative is, without doubt, a remarkably astute approach. He would then emerge as a heroic figure, generously offering the innovations of his family, which would indeed be a grand act of philanthropy. With an air of self-satisfaction, Bruce proclaimed, "Let us not rush to rejoice. Instead, allow me to demonstrate this technology for everyone." He was eager to unveil his achievements to all. Yet, the expression of his secretary beside him suddenly morphed into one of profound peculiarity. Chapter 456. The astonished Bruce, according to Bruce's plan, by unveiling the astonishing lithography technology tonight. He believed he could resolve the ongoing crisis. After all, his partners were primarily long-standing clients of the Lee Consortium. They had chosen to betray him, fearing that, without allegiance to the opposing consortium, they would be utterly powerless against the overwhelming might of the new technology. Once he possessed this unparalleled technological advancement, all issues would naturally be resolved. Thus, when Bruce instructed his secretary to retrieve the electronic blueprints of the lithography machine, he felt an overwhelming sense of confidence. However, his secretary, known for his meticulous nature, insisted on reviewing the material before the public presentation. To Bruce's dismay, this review revealed a significant problem. "Sir, perhaps we should reconsider broadcasting this," the secretary suggested, somewhat embarrassed. "What do you mean, not broadcast? Are you suggesting I humiliate myself in front of all these people?" Bruce retorted sharply. The conference room was already filled to capacity with the core elites of the Lee Consortium, each one a paragon of excellence. Bruce valued their opinions tremendously. Even the slightest imperfection, such as a crooked tie, would cause him great embarrassment. It was late at night, and he had summoned everyone under the pretense of announcing that he had resolved the crisis. What would happen if he suddenly declared that he was unprepared and asked them to return another time? The humiliation would be unbearable. Utter social death. A fate Bruce, who had been coddled since childhood, could not allow. "Why are you hesitating? Play it now," he insisted. "Isn't that video merely the electronic design and blueprints of the lithography machine?" "Please, Master Bruce, allow me to finish," the secretary attempted to interject once more. But Bruce's impatience cut him off. In a fit of frustration, he seized the video file and projected it onto the conference room's large screen. However, the ensuing images sent a jolt through his body, and disbelief washed over his face. Instead of the expected electronic design specifications for the lithography machine, the screen displayed a man smiling warmly at the audience. This man was none other than Zhang Tianheng, the prominent figure of the Paradise Consortium. This individual was no stranger to the core members of various consortiums, who had thoroughly studied him, and they recognized him instantly. But why was Zhang Tianheng's video appearing here? At that moment, an unsettling feeling began to well up within Bruce. In the scene, Zhang Tianheng wore a cold smile, gazing at everyone with a mocking expression. He then slowly began to speak. "My dear darlings, just look at your absurd faces. It is evident how laughable you truly are. Surely, you do not believe that this fellow named Bruce possesses the capability to develop any advanced lithography technology? I regret to inform you that this entire affair is but an elaborate ruse. In truth, Bruce aims to exploit the insider he has planted within our consortium to steal our invaluable secrets. He seeks to reclaim your chip orders through the theft of our lithography technology. Alas, your plans have already crumbled, for the traitor has long been unmasked. We merely refrain from dealing with him, wishing to observe the nature of your schemes. This very video you're witnessing is, in fact, a live broadcast directed at you. By the way, every nuance of your expressions is meticulously captured in my sight. Wail as you may, weep as you will, your fate is sealed. From beginning to end, I have orchestrated your downfall with ease. And to my astonishment, the Lee Consortium is composed entirely of inept fools, utterly useless. Let me enlighten you. There shall be no advanced lithography technology for your chip orders. The Lee Consortium is destined to serve merely as a stepping stone for our heavenly consortium. The charming little mole shall ultimately be devoured by the cold-blooded serpent. I am truly eager to witness the horror etched upon your faces as you are consumed. I hope you will unveil more of your tactics, allowing me to relish the performance of these jesters. Otherwise, this incident may prove exceedingly dull. Such mockery, an unparalleled mockery. The entire affair was but a trap laid by Zhang Tianheng. The insider planted by the Bruce family within the Heavenly Consortium had been captured long ago. This incident, without a doubt, marks a catastrophic defeat. Not only has he been publicly humiliated, but the entirely consortium has also suffered a significant loss. A thunderclap of realization struck Bruce. Only now did he comprehend that he had been duped. His body became as rigid as a corpse, rendered utterly immobile. At this moment, he was filled with regret so profound that it turned his insides green with remorse. He lamented his earlier vanity, disregarding his secretary's objections and insisting on broadcasting this video. Was it not a spectacle for all to witness his own folly? Yet, in this world, there exists no remedy for regret. One must ultimately take responsibility for their actions. Presently, the conference room of the Lee Consortium was enveloped in a profound silence, an eerie stillness. Not a soul dared to speak, for they were a loss for words in the face of such a heavy atmosphere. Today was meant to be a momentous occasion for the Lee Consortium. Bruce was initially poised to be the esteemed hero of the Lee Consortium, ready to unveil an advanced lithography chip technology that would earn him the adoration and envy of all, while effortlessly winning over Li Jiqing. However, the unfolding events surpassed everyone's wildest imaginations. No one could have anticipated that this so-called self-developed lithography technology was, in fact, acquired by Bruce through the nefarious means of industrial espionage. What is even more infuriating is that, had the theft been successful, it might have been acceptable. Alas, it turned out to be nothing more than an elaborate ruse. This was undeniably humiliating. Bruce felt as though he might vomit blood from sheer rage. Chapter 457. The existence of Jiang Yuan. Li Jiqing uttered not a single word, merely casting a cold glance at Bruce before turning to leave. Sometimes, silence speaks volumes more than 1,000 words. In that moment, the absence of sound was more powerful than any spoken language. Almost no one present dared to voice their thoughts. Many wore expressions of deep anger and subsequently turned to depart. Only Bruce remained, nearly bursting with frustration. It was indeed a case of losing the chicken while trying to steal the rice, a saying from Longhua, as he found himself unwittingly transformed into a laughingstock. The architect of this humiliation was none other than Zhang Tianheng of the Paradise Consortium, a man of profound cunning. Although he had already uncovered that one of the high-ranking executives planted by the Bruce family within his own consortium was a traitor, he chose to bide his time, casting a long line to catch a big fish. It was not until the final moment that his true colors emerged, delivering a crushing blow to Bruce and leaving him utterly humiliated. Such composure undoubtedly marked him as a formidable adversary. How infuriating! Bruce felt an overwhelming urge to bang his head against the floor in despair. In the corridor, Li Jiqing walked silently, contemplating. On the surface, Bruce appeared to be a talented individual, yet ultimately, he seemed to be nothing more than a man with grand ambitions, but limited capabilities. If the Li family consortium were entrusted to him, it would likely stand no chance against the Paradise Consortium. However, if the ongoing crisis regarding the billion-dollar chip order remained unresolved, the Li family consortium might soon be devoured by other conglomerates. At this juncture, the only glimmer of hope rested with Jiang Yuan. She fervently hoped that Jiang Yuan would not let them down. Meanwhile, as Li Jiqing silently prayed, Jiang Yuan had finally completed his work. He quietly closed the laptop on which he had labored throughout the night. Then, Jiang Yuan issued a directive, instructing, notify all partners. The meeting can be moved forward. I am about to announce significant news. In truth, even Jiang Yuan felt a surge of excitement within. Although he had anticipated the extraordinary capabilities of the divine-level engineer card, he never imagined it would surpass his expectations to such an extent. The lithography technology had far exceeded his imagination, and he was eager to share the fruits of his labor with everyone. The announcement regarding the rescheduling of his technology release conference swiftly reached various partners through a flurry of emails. However, many partners expressed their dissatisfaction. What was the Li family consortium attempting to achieve? Why had they suddenly decided to advance the previously established conference time? Could it be that the Li family was desperately grasping at straws in a futile attempt to turn the tide? Turn the tide? What ist? It was widely known that the Paradise Consortium's 2-nanometer lithography technology was at least 5 years ahead of its time. Was it that simple to reverse the situation? It appears that the Li family consortium is rather unwilling to concede and is attempting to exert pressure upon us. Nearly all our partners seem to harbor a degree of dissatisfaction. The realm of business has always been characterized by overt and fair competition. The party that can provide greater mutual benefits will secure our endorsement through our votes. Typically, relentless entreaties yield no advantageous outcomes. Rather, they create the impression that one is incapable of accepting defeat, which is quite embarrassing. Nevertheless, the partners, out of deference to the Li family consortium, reluctantly gathered for this video conference. Many among them stifled yawns, seemingly disinterested, and were not hopeful for any fruitful results from this meeting, merely wishing to expedite the proceedings. Let us conclude this swiftly, for for I suspect there will be nothing in this encounter that could possibly astonish us. The Li Family Consortium's last-ditch efforts seem to lack the requisite strength. Even if they attempted to bribe us with money, such an endeavor would be utterly impractical. Once we harness the technology of a 2-nanometer lithography machine, the profits we stand to gain would be astronomical, sums that even the Li Family Consortium could not hope to afford. As the collective sentiment among the attendees was one of disdain, the visage of Jiang Yuan gradually materialized on a video screen, accompanied by a clearly visible line of text. 3 picometer lithography machine technology launch conference. These simple characters momentarily stunned many of the partners. They collectively questioned whether they had misread or were perhaps dreaming. A 3 picometer lithography machine? Surely, this must be a jest. The initial reactions from the partners were of bewilderment and astonishment, quickly followed by a profound sense of absurdity. This is impossible. Upon reading the text, exclamations of disbelief erupted among the crowd. The prevailing lithography technology in the market is at the 7-nanometer level, a technology that has stagnated for 5 years. How could such an extraordinarily advanced specification emerge seemingly out of nowhere? This is absolutely impossible. No one could achieve such a feat. It must be a fabrication. Yet, it defies logic that a conglomerate as formidable as the Li family would commit such egregious errors. What on earth is happening? No one anticipated that events would take such a turn. Initially, they had lost hope in the Li Family Consortium, believing them incapable of challenging the Heavenly Consortium. Yet, the situation has dramatically reversed. If the content of that line of text is entirely genuine, it could herald a seismic shift on a global scale. A picometer lithography machine. What does that even signify? After years of technological advancement, even progressing by a single nanometer in lithography technology is akin to climbing a mountain. This time, the Heavenly Consortium has devoted all its resources and has achieved a certain degree of progress. From the original 7-nanometer level, they have made strides to reach the 2-nanometer level. However, the prospect of a picometer-level lithography machine is beyond their wildest dreams. If the 2-nanometer lithography machine represents a groundbreaking technological advancement, then the picometer-level lithography machine would signify a revolutionary transformation of existence itself. Jiang Yuan, however, showed no outward response to their astonishment. He merely waved his hand to beckon them to silence. Now, I shall elucidate the technological principles behind this lithography machine. While Jiang Yuan cannot disclose the true core secrets, certain technological concepts can indeed be shared. Chapter 458. The eager collaborators Jiang Yuan elaborated on the photolithography technology he had developed, exhibiting a certain eloquence. The collaborators, though initially unable to comprehend the details, each had a cadre of specialized technological advisors within their ranks. These individuals were predominantly either retired researchers or stellar scientists in their own right, and they too participated in this video conference. Upon learning about Jiang Yuan's self-developed square-meter-level photolithography machine, they initially dismissed him as merely an exaggerated braggart. However, as Jiang Yuan began to unveil his technical insights, their expressions froze in astonishment. This was merely the beginning. When Jiang Yuan presented his electronic files, complete with detailed diagrams, and introduced each one meticulously, the expressions of these technical advisors transformed dramatically. What he says is utterly genuine, they murmured, visibly taken aback. Furthermore, his electronic files were remarkably comprehensive, indicating that completion was imminent. With this revelation, the atmosphere of the video conference erupted in excitement. Many collaborators felt utterly bewildered, their minds spinning. The prospect of a picometer-level photolithography machine was simply astonishing. In stark contrast, the so-called 2-nanometer photolithography machine from the Paradise Consortium appeared utterly trivial, unworthy of mention. The world has always been unforgiving. With the advent of picometer-level photolithography, the previous so-called epoch-defining technology of the Paradise Consortium was rendered obsolete. We are eager to renew our contract with the Li Consortium. Please, we implore you to approve our reentry, they pleaded. I share this sentiment, and hope you can advocate on our behalf. Although we may have been remiss recently, we vow that it will not happen again. These individuals were shrewd businessmen, for whom the notion of pride was utterly irrelevant. In their worldview, self-respect was merely a hindrance to acquiring profit. Their eyes were solely fixated on gain. In the realm of adults, it was always about profit, seldom about right or wrong. Given the current dynamics, with the Li Consortium poised to unveil such groundbreaking technology, what was the Paradise Consortium in comparison? Confronted with the nearly obsequious demeanor of these individuals, Jiang Yuan remained silent. You previously breached our agreement, and now you are so eager to renew it, Jiang Yuan remarked with a wry smile. Is this not rather hasty? Upon hearing his words, all the collaborators felt a jolt of realization. They understood that the situation was far more complex than it appeared. I am willing to offer you 5 of the contract's earnings as your profit. How does that sound? A particularly astute individual quickly suggested. The mention of 5 from the contract's earnings elicited raised eyebrows among many of the collaborators. This is rather excessive. One must understand that they are merely partners who procure goods from the Paradise Consortium or the Lee Consortium, with their net profit hovering around a mere 25. Should they choose to relinquish 1/5 of that profit to Jiang Yuan, it would undoubtedly amount to an exorbitant sum gifted to him. Is it not a cause for concern? Nonetheless, many astute and agile-minded businesspersons swiftly recognized the situation. They felt no qualms about conceding 5 of their profits to Jiang Yuan. Rather, they lamented why they had not made a more competitive offer themselves. It is essential to note that Jiang Yuan is, in fact, the creator of this cutting-edge photolithography technology at the picometer level. With the technical mastery in his hands, the power of premium pricing resides with him as well. This picometer-level lithography machine represents a legendary technological marvel, unprecedented in human history, and its actual premium will far exceed that of its nanometer counterparts. Thus, those who willingly choose to grant concessions to Jiang Yuan are likely to cultivate a more favorable impression. The distinction between being compelled to concede and doing so voluntarily is stark, despite the final monetary exchange being comparable. However, to everyone's astonishment, Jiang Yuan appeared somewhat dissatisfied with the 5 profit, gently shaking his head. Could it be that he finds this sum inadequate? Many partners gritted their teeth, exclaiming, "Are you truly unsatisfied with 5? Jiang Yuan, with a serene countenance, responded, "You are providing Paradise Consortium with approximately 5, correct? Then I shall require 15. Upon hearing this, many partners' expressions stiffened. They had initially offered a similar concession out of respect for the Paradise Consortium, but Jiang Yuan's audacious demand for triple the profit was indeed startling. Ignoring their reactions, Jiang Yuan continued, "The number of partnership slots is limited. It is first come, first served. Those willing to offer me a 15 profit may come forward to sign." His words sent a tremor through many partners, who displayed expressions of profound hesitation. While there was ostensibly no significant restriction on the number of partners, the rarity and allure of the picometer-level lithography machine would undoubtedly attract countless eager collaborators once the opportunity arose. Such a scenario would lead to intense competition. It is likely that by that time, even a 15 private profit share would scarcely suffice for Jiang Yuan's ambitions. The first to act were 2 leading partners. With beaming smiles, they exhibited no signs of discomfort. Rather, they generously stated, "It is of no concern. It is merely a matter of finances. In our line of work, the most vital aspects are camaraderie and friendship. Establishing a connection with you, Jiang Yuan, is certainly worth this modest financial concession." Jiang Yuan could not help but regard these 2 individuals with renewed interest. They were indeed eloquent and displayed no hint of reluctance, clearly embodying the shrewdness of seasoned strategists. "Please investigate the backgrounds of these 2 individuals. I sense they are not as simple as they appear," Jiang Yuan commanded. Xiaoyan promptly accepted the task. With these 2 individuals leading the charge, many collaborators gritted their teeth and hastily approached Jiang Yuan for the contract to sign. After all, those willing to sign now would only earn a modest profit. If they delayed, they would end up with nothing at all. In the realm of commerce, profit reigns supreme, and all else can be cast aside. Approximately an hour later, Xiaoyan's investigative report was ready. The 2 leading collaborators exhibit connections to the Failbahar Consortium. They appear to have a close association with this organization, Xiaoyan reported with respect. Chapter 459. The flattery of business partners. Jiang Yuan responded with a slight nod. Although the preliminary arrangements had been completed, the business partners were evidently unwilling to easily relinquish their pursuit of Jiang Yuan, this extraordinary asset. The mere fact that such a young man could present groundbreaking technology of this magnitude signified immense potential. Describing him as promising would scarcely do justice to his capabilities. After all, he possessed a lithography machine of unparalleled caliber. Even with a gathering of the world's most brilliant researchers, a decade of relentless effort, and funding exceeding hundreds of billions, they had yet to create such a machine. At that moment, these partners felt an overwhelming sense of honor. Having witnessed the twilight of an era while on the brink of witnessing the ascent of a new star, they could foresee that the name of this new era would likely be Jiang Yuan. "Mr. Jiang," the business discussions have concluded. Shall we delve into more personal matters? Coincidentally, my daughter is turning 18 this year and is in search of a suitable husband. Do not heed his nonsense, Mr. Jiang. His daughter weighs over 270 pounds. My daughter is entirely different. Not only is she strikingly beautiful, but she also possesses an elegant figure. Gentlemen, please refrain from such idle chatter. Mr. Jiang is not one to be swayed by mere beauty. Only my daughter, with her exquisite intellect and grace, currently excelling at Bingfa University, is worthy of his attention. You are mistaken. I believe a man of Mr. Jiang's caliber, devoted to the realm of technology, would surely appreciate a partner with a scientific background. The sycophantic tones and subservient attitudes of these business partners were a sight Jiang Yuan had long since grown accustomed to. However, he felt a certain resignation in such social circumstances. After all, one could hardly dismiss the goodwill of others coldly. Their eagerness to see their daughters wed to him was, in a way, comprehensible. Most of these partners were well over 50. As older men, they often exhibited particular quirks, especially when it came to selecting suitors for their daughters. They typically held high standards, dismissing most young men as unworthy. Yet, truly talented individuals were as rare as phoenix feathers or Qilin horns. Today, however, they were astonished to discover Jiang Yuan, a mere 25-year-old, wielding transformative technological prowess. If their daughters or granddaughters were to marry him, they could potentially elevate their own fortunes. As the saying goes, when one achieves success, those around them also prosper. To align themselves with Jiang Yuan, their daughters could easily bypass a decade or two of struggle, perhaps even a century or two. Thus, they stared wide-eyed, fervently hoping that Jiang Yuan could arrange a meeting with their daughters or granddaughters. Jiang Yuan, faced with this predicament, reluctantly engaged with them. In truth, he held little concern regarding dating young women. However, if these cunning old men were to set him up with a girl weighing 270 pounds, that would be a regrettable miscalculation. Moreover, these business associates were individuals with whom he would require collaboration over the next 5 years. Consequently, Jiang Yuan acquiesced to a few of the partners' requests for introductions to their daughters. Once the matters were resolved, the sun had already risen. Having toiled throughout the night, Jiang Yuan felt a wave of weariness wash over him. Accompanied by Yao Wenwen, he returned to his suite and promptly collapsed onto his bed. His slumber was deep and restorative, a well-deserved respite after a long night of exertion. Indeed, even a man of iron would struggle to endure such strain. This slumber persisted throughout the day, and it was not until nearly dusk that Jiang Yuan roused himself. Meanwhile, within the Li Corporation, an atmosphere of urgency prevailed. Akin to ants on a hot stove, Bruce had suffered a total defeat and had been thoroughly humiliated by Zhang Tianheng of the Heavenly Corporation. The members on their side remained utterly powerless, unable to devise any effective countermeasures against their adversary. Should this stalemate continue, the colossal chip order worth billions would likely fall entirely into the clutches of the Heavenly Corporation. The financial situation of the Li Corporation had never been particularly robust. Losing such an order could relegate them to the lowest tier among the 5 major corporations, with little hope of recovery. Despite numerous elite members of the Li Corporation attempting to leverage their skills to rectify the situation, they ultimately despaired upon realizing the overwhelming strength of the Heavenly Corporation. The 7-nanometer lithography machine was already a formidable asset, yet the Heavenly Corporation had unveiled a 2-nanometer machine, a technological marvel that transcended the current era. The elite members of the Li Corporation were left with no choice but to remain inactive, biding their time for an opportunity to exploit a flaw in their opponent's strategy. However, this plan bore a striking resemblance to surrender. The Heavenly Corporation was astute. They were not the NAVE competitors one might encounter elsewhere. The hope of waiting for them to falter was, in all likelihood, a delusion. Jiang Yuan's absence throughout the day incited considerable frustration among the ranks. Where had he vanished to? Even in defeat, did he lack the courage to confront his failure? Instead, he had chosen to hide away like a turtle. I have long asserted that he possesses no genuine capabilities. He merely postures and blusters, they scoffed. This Jiang Yuan is nothing more than a mere connection. Yet he dares to occupy our prime resources? What a preposterous joke. Let us divert our focus from him and swiftly contemplate our strategy against the encroachment of the Heavenly Corporation. Chapter 460. The special seat of Jiang Yuan as dusk descended. The golden hues of twilight bathed the island in a warm glow. The global banquet had officially commenced. In preparation for this grand occasion, the 5 major conglomerates had spared no expense. This island, renowned for its unique location, was said to be an ancient symbol of good fortune. Merely leasing this island had incurred substantial costs. Most importantly, to complement the grandeur of the World Banquet, the five conglomerates had leveraged their extensive networks to invite an unprecedented number of celebrities from around the globe. Notably, an impressive array of voluptuous female stars, numbering in the hundreds, graced the event, each capable of inciting fervor among countless admirers. The banquet's delectable offerings were nothing short of extraordinary. The organizers had specially invited 50 of the world's most esteemed chefs to craft exquisite dishes. The tables overflowed with a vibrant array of culinary delights, their enticing aromas wafting through the air. Yet this was merely the tip of the iceberg, just the appetizers. This event was undoubtedly a celestial retreat, a journey of exquisite pleasure. However, the members of the Lee Corporation found little joy in this lavish gathering. The loss of a billion-dollar contract weighed heavily upon them, casting a pall over the festivities and dampening their spirits. Had they merely lost a fraction of the deal, it might have been bearable, but the humiliation of being outmaneuvered by the rival conglomerate, especially after their key player, Bruce, was ridiculed, was a bitter pill to swallow. Not only had they failed to resolve the issue, but they had also endured public mockery during a live broadcast, exposing Bruce's vulnerabilities. The defeat was undeniably disgraceful, contributing to the pervasive gloom. They could only imagine the scornful remarks they would face upon encountering representatives from the Heavenly Corporation at the banquet. Li Jiqing's expression mirrored that of her colleagues, tinged with disappointment. Jiang Yuan, introduced by her uncle, had eluded her presence throughout the day. Had he truly retreated, as others suggested, becoming a turtle hiding in its shell? This thought disheartened her. She had hoped her family would showcase their talents. And even if Jiang Yuan faltered, she would have had grounds to defend him. Yet, his inexplicable disappearance left her feeling let down. While the members of the Lee Corporation languished in discontent, many from the Heavenly Corporation appeared to be seething with rage. Their seating arrangement was alarmingly close to that of the Lee Corporation, with a mere 10 meters separating them, an almost palpable tension in the air. The intensity of the Heavenly Corporation's gaze upon their rivals was unexpected, brimming with resentment and unspoken animosity. This bewildered the Lee Corporation representatives, who could only wonder at the source of such ire. Lee Corporation, mark my words, you shall face the consequences. Some members of the Paradise Consortium spoke in hushed tones, their expressions filled with palpable disdain. Li Jiqing felt a sense of bewilderment, uncertain as to why Zhang Tianheng revealed such a countenance towards her. This expression was unmistakably that of a defeated hound. Yet merely a day prior, he had mercilessly bested Bruce. What could possibly be amiss? Initially, Li Jiqing was taken aback, but soon her curiosity piqued. Could it be that events had taken an unforeseen turn? Confounded, she reflected on the situation. Her side had undeniably faced defeat, with their greatest hope, Bruce, shattered, and Jiang Yuan mysteriously absent. From every conceivable angle, her faction appeared to be at rock bottom, devoid of any signs of a comeback. So why did the members of the Paradise Consortium regard her side with such intense animosity? Zhang Tianheng's expression was entirely that of a loser. Had circumstances shifted dramatically without her awareness? As Li Jiqing pondered, a flash of Jiang Yuan's confident visage and assertive rhetoric flickered through her mind. Could it possibly be him? The thought struck her as absurd. Surely not. He had already fled. Was it conceivable that he had not merely hidden away, but had actively resolved the entire affair from the shadows? After mulling over it for some time, she ultimately shook her head with a wry smile, unable to envision how Jiang Yuan could clandestinely rectify the situation. Moreover, if it were true, why had he not made a public appearance? Just as her thoughts spiraled into confusion, a representative from the Furbach Consortium unexpectedly strode to the center of the podium, microphone in hand, poised to announce something of great significance. This sudden action left Li Jiqing in a state of astonishment. The speaking platform at the World Banquet was not a place one could occupy lightly. It was reserved for the announcement of matters of utmost importance. What did this be? Li Jiqing lifted her gaze, nodding slightly towards the podium, sharing the same curiosity as many others present, all eager to discover what momentous occasion warranted such an activation of the World Banquet's speaking platform. The representative of the Furbach Consortium was a young man, appearing no older than 25 or 26, with tousled tawny hair and sharp, hawk-like gray-black eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an important announcement to make, he began. According to regulations, this World Banquet traditionally accommodates only 10 special seats, which enjoy the highest level of privileges. However, following a unanimous decision within our consortium, The Furbach Consortium strongly proposes the addition of an extra special seat. The audience, many of whom were ill-informed, erupted into murmurs of disbelief. There existed an unwritten rule regarding the World Banquet. Despite the multitude of attendees, the hierarchy was distinctly delineated. The representation of the highest standard special seat is exclusively reserved for the two most powerful individuals within each conglomerate, with 2 representatives from each of the 5 major groups. There are a total of 10 distinguished seats, a regulation that has persisted for over a decade. However, today, the Furbach Consortium surprisingly proposed the addition of an extra special seat. What could this possibly imply? Li Jiqing gazed on with a mixture of curiosity and bewilderment. To everyone's astonishment, there was no opposition to this proposal. It seemed as if the upper echelons had silently reached a tacit agreement. When the 11th special seat was unveiled, the individual occupying it left everyone utterly astounded. Chapter 461. The rapid ascent of status. In a pristine white attire, Jiang Yuan resembled a celestial being, seated in the 11th distinguished position amidst the astonished gazes of countless onlookers. This throne-like seat equaled the stature of deputy heads from major financial consortiums, a privilege bestowed upon merely 10 individuals across the illustrious 5 great financial groups. Though Jiang Yuan was uncertain of the underlying reasons for his elevation, he recognized the symbolic significance of this seat, albeit vaguely. Having succumbed to slumber throughout the day due to the previous night's exertions, he only awakened as the evening approached, heralding the commencement of the World Banquet. The Furbach Consortium had already dispatched envoys to respectfully invite him. Jiang Yuan harbored an understanding of the consortium's demeanor. As the 2 largest partners he encountered the night prior were backed by Furbach, the implications were evident. They had been the first to learn of his self-developed picometer-level lithography machine, a revelation that left them astounded. They swiftly clamped down on the information, issuing stringent orders to prevent any leakage. Subsequently, they made their way to Jiang Yuan's residence, eager to cultivate a rapport with him. Thus, when 2 black-clad attendants from the Furbach Consortium arrived to extend their invitation to the World Banquet, Jiang Yuan accepted with grace. Unbeknownst to him, the consortium had clandestinely submitted a request for a special seat on his behalf, and the efficiency with which this request was processed was astonishing. For an ordinary individual, even a newly appointed leader of a consortium, securing such a special position would be a formidable challenge, often taking over a year, even with influential connections. However, upon learning of Jiang Yuan's groundbreaking development of the lithography machine, the higher-ups underwent a dramatic shift in perspective. A prodigious talent indeed. It was remarkable that such a young individual had achieved the creation of a picometer-level lithography machine. Their prior invitation, which he had declined, was now viewed in a new light. They had mistakenly perceived him as an arrogant and foolish egotist, only to realize his genuine capabilities. They resolved to cultivate a relationship with him, ensuring no offense was taken, promptly allocating the coveted 11th position to him at the banquet. As Jiang Yuan took his place in the 11th distinguished seat, members of the Heavenly Consortium stared in disbelief, their eyes filled with resentment as they regarded him, as if wishing to devour him whole. Zhang Tianheng, whose once vibrant eyes brimmed with ambition, was now shrouded in a cloud of discontent. This tumultuous sentiment had arisen merely a day prior. Zhang Tianheng took great pleasure in mocking Bruce, publicly humiliating and provoking him, yet found himself utterly powerless in the face of the situation. He felt an overwhelming sense of triumph, perceiving the Li family consortium as merely a piece of meat to be manipulated at will. Although the Bruce family boasted a prestigious lineage spanning over a century, what did that truly signify? In the realm of wealth, few possess the fortitude to adhere to their principles. For the majority, their principles are non-existent. This reality was all too clear to Zhang Tianheng, an elite member of the Paradise Consortium. When the Bruce family's spy embedded within the Paradise Consortium was uncovered, Zhang Tianheng did not rush to eliminate this informant. Instead, he resolved to play the long game, intending to cultivate this spy into a clandestine pawn. Indeed, this pawn soon shone brilliantly during a monumental billion-dollar deal. The young scion of the Bruce family had fancied himself clever, believing he could pilfer the internal electronic blueprints of Paradise Consortium through his family spy. Little did he realize that he had unwittingly become a tool for Zhang Tianheng, who toyed with him to his heart's content. The more Zhang Tianheng contemplated the situation, the more he reveled in his apparent certainty of victory. However, as the saying goes, pride precedes a fall. Just as Zhang Tianheng reached the pinnacle of his self-satisfaction, The situation took a dramatic turn. "This is bad, Mr. Zhang. Our two major partners have suddenly turned against us." The exasperated voice continued. "Damn it, we haven't even formalized our contracts with them yet. If they have changed their minds at the last moment, we are utterly powerless. What should we do now, Mr. Zhang? Another partner has just informed us of a change in manufacturers. We're finished. Not just those three, but we've received calls from over a dozen partners, all expressing their intent to switch allegiances. What on earth is happening?" The sudden influx of distressing news struck Zhang Tianheng like a torrential downpour, leaving him utterly unprepared and bewildered, akin to a passerby caught in an unexpected thunderstorm. Impossible. Zhang Tianheng's response was swift and fierce. These partners must be incited by some external force, attempting to inflate prices. They cannot possibly abandon our collaboration. We possess cutting-edge 2-nanometer lithography technology. Investigate. I demand a thorough inquiry into who has the audacity to incite our partners. This is nothing but a baseless price manipulation scheme. At that moment, Zhang Tianheng remained oblivious to the gravity of the situation. It was not until a complete report arrived 15 minutes later that he felt as though he had plunged into an icy abyss. "This is dire, Mr. Zhang. They are not merely attempting to drive up prices by feigning abandonment. They have genuinely signed contracts with others. It is a done deal. My uncle is an executive at one of the partnering companies, and he discreetly informed me that an individual has developed a more advanced lithography technology. This revelation prompted them to abandon our collaboration and swiftly enter into a contract with the other party." Upon hearing this comprehensive report, Zhang Tianheng felt as though his mind had been struck by a colossal hammer, leaving him in a daze. More advanced lithography technology. Surely, this cannot be true. How could that be possible? The development of lithography technology, ranging from 7 nanometers to 2 nanometers, has taken over 5 years. How can new type of lithography technology suddenly emerge? The specifics remain unclear, but we do know that it was introduced by a young man named Jiang Yuan. Chapter 462. The Astonished Zhang Tianheng. Jiang Yuan. Upon hearing this name, Zhang Tianheng's pupils contracted sharply, as if pricked by a needle. It was he who had thwarted his ambitions. In the previous incident, Su Tianzhong had faced off against him and suffered a crushing defeat. Zhang Tianheng had once mocked Su Tianzhong mercilessly, but he had not anticipated that the tides of fortune would so swiftly turn against him. Infuriatingly, he found himself akin to that worthless Su Tianzhong, bested by a mere citizen of the Dragon Nation. Zhang Tianheng harbored immense resentment. He was, in fact, of mixed heritage. His mother hailed from the Dragon Nation, while his father was American. Growing up in the United States, he faced mockery and scorn due to his Dragon nationality. Throughout his student years, he had endured countless instances of bullying rooted in his identity, haunting him like a nightmare from middle school through university. Consequently, Zhang Tianheng felt an intense anger and humiliation towards his Dragon lineage. Had it not been for his mother's fervent opposition and certain prohibitive regulations, he might have long since changed his name entirely. Thus, deep within, he harbored an inexplicable animosity towards all individuals from the Dragon Nation. Regarding the Li Corporation, he had never regarded it with much seriousness. After all, it was merely a consortium formed by a handful of Dragon nationals. What threat could it possibly pose? Even with the incorporation of the Bruce family's heir, who could harness some of their power, it was inadequate in comparison. The Tianheng Consortium was supported by no fewer than 5 prominent families with centuries of prestige. Although these families did not present a unified front and engaged in internal strife, their collective might was formidable. The Bruce family alone was insufficient to counterbalance that power. In Zhang Tianheng's eyes, the prospect of absorbing the Li Corporation was merely a trivial undertaking, akin to the simplicity of eating or drinking. Securing the Li Corporation's billion-dollar chip order would significantly diminish its influence. The subsequent execution of his plans to swallow the Li Corporation would be a straightforward endeavor. However, he never imagined that Jiang Yuan would emerge from obscurity, unveiling an epic-making lithography machine, boasting specifications down to the picometer level. It was worth noting that his own Tianheng Consortium had taken 5 years and an unfathomable sum of resources to develop their cutting-edge technology, amassed from the collaboration of 5 illustrious families. With this lithography machine in hand, Zhang Tianheng had believed he could effortlessly dominate other consortiums, asserting absolute supremacy within the realm of chips. However, he could never have anticipated that, despite his absolute advantage, there existed someone even more formidable, wielding technology far surpassing their own by more than 100-fold. The intricacies of lithography technology, particularly at the nanoscale, present geometric challenges for every incremental advancement. Their leap from 7 nanometers to 2 nanometers was akin to an astonishing stroke of evolutionary luck. Yet, none dared to envision further progress. A lithography machine operating at the picometer scale is a feat beyond the grasp of this era. Yet, astonishingly, a young man named Jiang Yuan emerged with such technology. Zhang Tianheng realized that this time, his side had genuinely lost in every conceivable sense. Moreover, the defeat was not merely a financial setback. The most excruciating aspect was that his conqueror was someone he had always scorned, a citizen of the Dragon Nation. This tormenting blow to his pride was unbearable. Thus, when the global banquet commenced, every member of the Heavenly Consortium was imbued with a sense of resentment. They held the Li family consortium in contempt, having been brazenly humiliated just the night before. Their side, the Heavenly Consortium, had not only seen through their opponent's schemes, but had also turned the tables. Yet, the Li family's fortune had favored them with the emergence of Jiang Yuan, this inexplicable prodigy. Without Jiang Yuan, their victory would have been assured. Yet, fate had dealt them a cruel blow, as an unexpected variable disrupted their meticulously laid plans. In truth, the Heavenly Consortium was profoundly dissatisfied. Their defeat was not to the Li family, but to Jiang Yuan alone. Zhang Tianheng's mindset resembled that of a battle-hardened champion who had effortlessly vanquished 5 adversaries, only to find that one among them was an exceptionally skilled champion-level player, leading to his unexpected downfall. This was a bitter pill to swallow. Consequently, Zhang Tianheng felt no respect or acceptance for the Li family consortium. Weakness, in his eyes, was never deserving of recognition or esteem. Yet, towards Jiang Yuan, he harbored a profound respect intertwined with trepidation. Jiang Yuan's prowess had earned Zhang Tianheng's acknowledgement. As he beheld Jiang Yuan seated in the 11th special position, his gaze sparkled with an inexplicable brilliance, as if he had found a true rival. Very well, Jiang Yuan. Perhaps you are a contender worthy of my earnest regard. Though I have lost this time, it does not reflect my full capabilities, Zhang Tianheng silently mused. I underestimated you, thinking that Bruce from the Li family consortium was a mere fool. Had I known it was you, I might have prepared more thoroughly. Defeating me will not be so simple. Chapter 463. The 11th special seat at this grand banquet of the world. All attendees were leaders or high-ranking officials from various top-tier conglomerates across different nations. Those who have ascended to such positions undoubtedly possess considerable political acumen and strategic prowess, while some among them remained perplexed as to why Jiang Yuan had been bestowed with the honor of the 11th special seat. They were certainly not foolish enough to antagonize someone of his stature. Many well-informed individuals had already come to learn of a profoundly shocking revelation. Jiang Yuan held in his possession a pivotal technological innovation capable of transforming the global landscape of technology. Rumors suggested it was related to chips and lithography machines, though the specifics remained shrouded in mystery. In this era, virtually no cutting-edge electronic device could be divorced from the influence of chips. Numerous nations may possess the capability to counterfeit or fabricate various products. However, when it comes to specialized chips, such as CPUs, no country could manufacture them without a lithography machine. A saying circulated within the electronic sector of the Dragon Country aptly encapsulates this reality. If you believe a rogue could sell you a counterfeit CPU, you're either a fool or he's a madman. This adage vividly illustrates the impossibility of replicating a CPU, as such advanced chips are the true pinnacle of technological achievement on a global scale. If the information gleaned is accurate, then this young man before them is somehow connected to the lithography machine, the superlative apparatus dedicated to CPU production. The mere association with such a machine, coupled with the rare honor of the 11th seat, underscores Jiang Yuan's extraordinary value. In that moment, many gazes turned toward Jiang Yuan with fervor, as if they wished to devour him whole. Unbeknownst to him, Jiang Yuan perceived their stares akin to a middle-aged bachelor admiring an unparalleled beauty, sending a shiver down his spine. A number of astute individuals began to applaud Jiang Yuan, showering him with praises that seemed endless. This young friend from the Dragon Country, so youthful yet so promising, undoubtedly has an infinite future ahead. Look, this young gentleman appears to be no more than 25, yet he has secured the 11th seat at the World Banquet, a truly commendable achievement. One remarked, there's an ancient saying in the Dragon Country, one should not judge a person by their appearance, nor the sea by its measure. No, I certainly do not mean to imply that this young friend is lacking in appearance. Rather, he is exceptionally young yet remarkably accomplished. Let us applaud this young friend. Suddenly, the hall erupted with a chorus of congratulations, resounding and unending. Li Jiqing, however, was taken aback, feeling a sense of disbelief within her. If she had previously speculated that Jiang Yuan had exerted considerable effort for the sake of today's events, it now appeared to her that Jiang Yuan was indeed an enigma, shrouded in mystery. Attending the World Banquet for the first time and securing a remarkably special seat is simply unfathomable. It is important to understand that special seats at the World Banquet are not mere ordinary positions. The individuals deemed worthy of invitation to such a prestigious event are far from commonplace. Any one of them could dominate their respective realms. The exclusivity of these special seats is unparalleled, representing true power and status. Even the illustrious Li family, at the height of its influence, could only secure 2 such seats. Moreover, these coveted spots are often subject to stringent limitations, operating on a rotation system. Acquiring one through financial means is almost impossible. Only those in extraordinarily unique positions are granted the honor of such seating. Historically, banquet seating in foreign lands has placed great emphasis on hierarchy, particularly concerning lineage and seniority. Thus, even the allocation of special seats at the World Banquet tends to prioritize the heritage of esteemed families. Yet here was Jiang Yuan, hailing not from a renowned lineage, but from the common folk of the Dragon Kingdom, achieving a special seat at his very first World Banquet. This was unprecedented. Such anomalies invariably hint at deeper mysteries. This extraordinary situation left Li Jiqing utterly astonished. Even her beloved ether cat could not contain itself, scrambling on her shoulder and letting out a few sharp cries. It was not until the cat licked her ear that she snapped back to reality, realizing her uncle had indeed not misjudged Jiang Yuan. Her emotions were now a complex tapestry. Perhaps she had been overly proud. Jiang Yuan was far from the simpleton he appeared to be. Had she known of his true capabilities earlier, she might have extended him greater privileges and favors. A twinge of regret stirred within her. Although her intention in assigning Jiang Yuan the most special presidential suite was to diminish Bruce's influence within the corporation, she never anticipated that Jiang Yuan could not be swayed by such a gesture. His worth transcended mere accommodations. As Li Jiqing pondered, a brilliant idea suddenly illuminated her mind, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Secretary, please connect me to Mr. Li Mi." Meanwhile, Bruce felt as though his head might split open from disbelief. He could hardly fathom that the ultimate victor in this contest appeared to be Jiang Yuan. No, my God, what is happening here? He thought in horror. This 11th seat has been awarded to a mere citizen of the Dragon Kingdom, someone who has only recently joined the Li Corporation. I had intended to intimidate him, yet now he has turned the tables? What a ridiculous situation this is. What on earth is happening? However, it matters not. We shall observe the unfolding events with patience. Behind me stands the illustrious Bruce family. How could an ordinary individual from the common folk of the Dragon Country possibly contend with me? Bruce felt as though his lungs would burst with rage, a profound sense of humiliation rising from the depths of his heart. He could only invoke the name of the Bruce family to reassure himself that Jiang Yuan was no match for him. The core members of the Li Consortium were utterly dumbfounded. Chapter 464. The banquet theme at this moment, Jiang Yuan resembled a monarch from the Middle Ages, his hands resting elegantly upon his knees, embodying the essence of a flawless gentleman, leaving little room for criticism. Beneath him lay a throne that appeared exclusively reserved for royalty, a seat that incited envy and frenzy among countless onlookers. Many aspired to occupy the distinguished 11th seat, as Jiang Yuan did, yet regrettably, they could only gaze in silent longing. Particularly, the core members of the Li Corporation regarded Jiang Yuan, seated upon his throne, with an almost monstrous fascination. A crucial tenet of the Li Corporation as corporate culture is the paramount significance of seniority, an emblem of distinction between elders and juniors, a demarcation of nobility versus commonality. Even within foreign conglomerates, the phenomenon of workplace bullying by seniors towards juniors is not uncommon, a remnant of millennia-old traditions that perpetuate such dynamics. Those who joined the corporation first are undoubtedly the architects of its development, while the juniors merely reap the rewards of the elders' toil. Under the influence of this corporate ethos, seniors loom over juniors with an undeniable advantage, akin to the heavens above, while juniors remain earthbound. Thus, on that day, when Jiang Yuan unveiled the challenger-esque gaze and spoke provocatively as a junior, every core member of the Li Corporation, including Bruce, regarded him with palpable indignation. However, the stark reality before them rendered any notions of seniority or hierarchy obsolete. A saying from Longhua encapsulates this sentiment. Facts speak louder than words. Confronted with undeniable truths, they found themselves incapable of subduing their emotions with any corporate dogma. What was the undeniable truth? In the grand scheme of events, the monumental billion-dollar chip order, the esteemed seniors of the Lee Corporation, including Bruce, failed to rise to the occasion and were instead humiliated by Jiang Tianheng the previous night. They were left with no room for resistance. Akin to prey ensnared and toyed with by Jiang Tianheng, their hearts bore the weight of guilt, shame, and humiliation, as if they were sinners nailed to a pillar of disgrace. Yet, on this day, Jiang Yuan restored their dignity, doing so with an overwhelming and absolute superiority that reclaimed the Lee Corporation's honor. Simply by observing the gaze of the Tian Corporation members directed at him, they felt an exhilarating surge of emotion, a blend of unwillingness and deep-seated resentment. It was the gaze of the weak towards the strong, the defeated towards the victorious. Although they were uncertain about the precise methods and measures employed by Jiang Yuan, merely observing the expressions of disdain from the heavenly group members toward their own cohort allowed them to surmise a rough idea of the situation. It was evident that Jiang Yuan had discreetly taken certain actions that inflicted considerable losses upon the heavenly group. Losses that were undoubtedly equivalent to the humiliation Bruce had suffered at the hands of Jiang Tianheng the previous night. Particularly striking was the fact that, having only recently experienced that incident, Jiang Yuan was now seated at the 11th special position, making it difficult for anyone not to connect these two occurrences. What exactly is Jiang Yuan's background? Could it be that Miss Lee's decision to grant him the most luxurious presidential suite was a recognition of his extraordinary capabilities? This seems highly plausible. If this were indeed the case, everything would align seamlessly. A newcomer from Longhua, yet he had access to the finest resources of the Lee Consortium, revealing his hidden depth. It appears we have indeed been blind to his true potential. Even Bruce, having been bested by Jiang Tianheng, could not have anticipated that Jiang Yuan would turn the tide, single-handedly reversing the situation. His arrogance, it seems, was not without justification. Our previous demeanor may have bordered on condescension, but in the face of genuine strength, we find ourselves at a loss for words. It is only the formidable that we truly admire. Without a doubt, Jiang Yuan is a true powerhouse. Bruce's jealousy simmered to the point where he felt flames might erupt from his eyes as he listened to the whispers of admiration for Jiang Yuan that surrounded him. An overwhelming sense of humiliation swelling within him. He was, after all, the hope of the Bruce family, a young master raised in privilege, nurtured with lofty expectations, particularly after joining the Lee Consortium, where he aspired to unify the organization. Yet, everything crumbled the previous night, and today, it felt as if Jiang Yuan had snatched away all his hope. Bruce felt as if he were a raging fire, burning fiercely within. Had it not been for Jiang Yuan's flawless resolution of this incident, he would have fared better. Instead, he felt like a clown, rendered grotesque by comparison. No, I must reclaim my dignity. Bruce's expression darkened. I have only lost a small battle. I have not yet been entirely defeated, and I can still turn the tide. Jiang Yuan regarded the various expressions around him with remarkable calmness. Before attending this grand global banquet, Old Lee had already apprised him of the potential scenarios that could unfold, advising him to maintain an even temperament. This, too, was a form of cultivation, a refinement of the heart of a true warrior. Only those with genuine strength can achieve the serene state of observing the ebb and flow of life with equanimity. The commencement of this world banquet unfolded amidst the exchanges of toast between the esteemed guests and Jiang Yuan. Meanwhile, Yao Wenwen and Xiaoyan gazed at Jiang Yuan with wide-eyed astonishment, utterly perplexed by the unfolding events, yet sensing that Jiang Yuan was exuding an air of unparalleled distinction. Although they were unaware of the circumstances, the sudden elevation of their employer's status at the world banquet elicited genuine astonishment among them. However, after approximately an hour into the banquet, the heavenly consortium began to feel somewhat restless. An elderly gentleman, with white hair and a beard, who appeared to be nearing 60, rose and remarked with a smile, "Since you are all invited guests at this banquet, you must surely comprehend the theme of this gathering." The attendees collectively turned their attention towards this elder, as he, too, occupied one of the 11 prestigious seats. He was the deputy leader of this generation of the Heavenly Consortium, Delons. The theme of our gathering today is the medical aspect of life. I believe our Heavenly Consortium is the most qualified organization to represent this theme. Chapter 465. Unequal competition. Jiang Yuan furrowed his brow slightly, taken aback to discover that this world banquet had a theme, and it was centered around healthcare. This matter had not arisen during his previous discussions with Elder Li, leaving him completely unaware of it. It seemed that Elder Li, having long turned a blind eye to worldly affairs, was not as informed as one might expect. Or could it be that he had deliberately concealed this matter from him? A surge of doubt welled up within Jiang Yuan, accompanied by a burgeoning suspicion. Could it be that the complexity of this issue was so profound that Elder Li feared he might shy away from it, hence his intentional omission? Healthcare. This was undeniably a matter of paramount importance. Who in this world can escape death? The cycle of life, aging, illness, and death is but a natural phenomenon. However, those who succumb to illness might have been granted a chance at a longer life had they received timely medical assistance. Regrettably, medical aid often remains a luxury. The costs associated with merely a single treatment for many ailments can be staggering. Foreign conglomerates like the Paradise Group invest significantly in the healthcare sector, often exceeding the imagination of the average person. Their investments are justified. Any capital injected into healthcare ultimately yields returns that multiply 100-fold or more. Yet, entering the healthcare arena is fraught with challenges. The training of a medical professional typically requires over a decade, while funding may be readily available. Cultivating talent is a far more arduous endeavor. The global pool of medical experts is limited, and even numerous conglomerates eager to invest must first consider the standing of the Paradise Group, the pioneers in healthcare investment, which has established a near monopoly over the market. At that moment, all the magnates at the World Banquet paused their activities, directing their gazes towards Dylan, the deputy of the Paradise Group, eagerly awaiting his remarks. Jiang Yuan, too, focused on the elder from the Paradise Group, silently anticipating the forthcoming discussion. He felt a profound premonition that this matter was of great significance. If there are no objections, I propose that this year's medical investment conference be led once again by our Paradise Group, DeLuan began, his words resonating with the force of thunder. However, he continued, this year's situation differs slightly from those of the past, as we have secured an investment from Miss Lin Un. Therefore, I hope to assure everyone that the reduction in the share for various conglomerates will only be approximately 10. His declaration sent shockwaves through the assembly. No one had anticipated such a momentous announcement. A reduction of about 10 in profits. This was akin to a knife slicing into flesh, a blatant threat. Yet, upon hearing the name Miss Lin Un, many faces changed dramatically, their expressions becoming grave. They appeared to be momentarily paralyzed, as if a heavy stone had pressed down upon them, rendering them speechless. Who was Lin Un? Jiang Yuan pondered. At this moment, he was in close proximity to Li Jiqing, so near that he could even faintly catch the scent of her perfume. Lin Un. I will discuss this with you later. Li Jiqing hesitated before responding. It seemed she harbored unspoken troubles, as if the name Ling Un were a dreadful incantation, not to be uttered lightly in the presence of others. Yet, while others seethed with unvoiced indignation, they dared not express their fury. The reduction of substantial profits typically necessitates prolonged negotiations, yet the representatives of the Heavenly Consortium chose to abruptly raise this matter at the World Banquet. Clearly, emboldened by Miss Ling Un's support, they felt invulnerable. I believe we cannot accept this collaboration. Jiang Yuan was the only one to explicitly voice his opposition. Although the others had previously remained silent, maintaining a facade of cordiality, once Jiang Yuan spoke out, they quickly echoed his sentiments. Indeed, I think it is wiser for us to deliberate further. This is a crucial matter, and we must not make hasty decisions. The eyes of Delrins, the deputy of the Heavenly Consortium, narrowed slightly as he regarded Jiang Yuan, resembling a tiger eyeing its prey. In the realm of chips, Jiang Yuan had undoubtedly emerged as a formidable force, catching the Heavenly Consortium off guard. Even Delrins had to concede that in this instance, the Heavenly Consortium had indeed suffered a setback. But what of it? Historically, victories and defeats are merely the norm in warfare. Even the most distinguished generals and the most formidable sovereigns have faced their share of defeats, provided they can rise again. What does a single failure amount to? Moreover, for the Heavenly Consortium, their primary business is firmly rooted in the medical field. The chip sector constitutes only a fraction of their overall strategy, hardly even 1/10. Even if Jiang Yuan had gained a slight edge in the chip domain, it was hardly crippling. This is precisely why the members of the Heavenly Consortium regarded the Li Family Consortium with disdain. The distinction lies in who can afford to lose more. For the Heavenly Consortium, losing merely translates to a slight reduction in profits. They can easily bear that. However, for the Li Family Consortium, a loss equates to a significant encroachment upon their very existence. The conflict of interest between the two has always been starkly uneven, akin to one possessing 10 lives while the other possesses but one. Engaging in a life-or-death struggle between such disparate parties is fundamentally an unfair contest. Yet, the world is unyieldingly harsh. Fairness has never been a reality, but rather a mere illusion. What exists is the brutal law of survival of the fittest. At this moment, Jiang Yuan played the role of a challenger to this established order. Many in the consortium admired Jiang Yuan immensely. Apart from the heavenly consortium, the other factions were keenly interested in him. This young man is quite remarkable. We should find an opportunity to lure him away from the Li family consortium. Is it appropriate to undermine others? Why not? We are all free agents, serving our respective masters. As long as we can appeal to his interests, we can surely draw Jiang Yuan into our fold. However, we remain unaware of Jiang Yuan's interests and hobbies. As men have historically found it challenging to resist the allure of beauty, can it be that our vast consortium cannot find a woman who would captivate Jiang Yuan's heart? I entrust this matter entirely to your discretion. Meanwhile, the enigmatic Delans from the Heaven Consortium remarked with a smirk that concealed his true emotions. Soon, you shall comprehend the magnificence of my proposal. Those who refuse will undoubtedly come to regret their decision. Chapter 466. The War of Women. Ever since Jiang Yuan unequivocally rejected the proposal from the Paradise Consortium, the atmosphere at the global banquet has become notably tense. While the major corporations appeared to engage in cordial toasts, there was an underlying current of rivalry, with each faction harboring its own strategic intentions. Despite the palpable tension in the air, the mood among the lower ranks was markedly different. Many women from the mid-level management of various corporations had just received directives from their superiors. Any female employee who could win Jiang Yuan's favor would be greatly rewarded. Indeed, Jiang Yuan's exceptional talents have become the object of desire for countless individuals. The significance of lithography machines is universally acknowledged. Jiang Yuan, possessing remarkable prowess and immense value, has stirred a competitive spirit among the women present. They all aspired to captivate such a treasure of a man, believing that he could easily be swayed. After all, what is a man? No matter how high his intelligence or talents, he is still a man, and women have a knack for charming them. Women are inherently the nemesis of man. I have yet to encounter anyone impervious to their allure. Beauty and a captivating physique are merely the conventional tools for attracting men, while true masters employ far more sophisticated methods. Jiang Yuan, it seems, will not escape our grasp. The elite women from various corporations have revealed their ambitious gazes, covertly forming a competitive circle, using this global banquet as their arena. The ultimate prize of this contest, of course, is Jiang Yuan himself. As the saying goes, the early bird catches the worm. Leading the charge is an elite woman from the Paradise Consortium, approximately 28 years of age, in the most enchanting phase of womanhood. Although she is slightly older, her meticulous grooming leaves her with no wrinkles and skin as delicate and smooth as that of a 20-something. Her charming visage, with a slender and pristine face, invites one to reach out and touch. Her clean and elegant hair cascades over her shoulders, complementing her fair complexion and endearing ears, making one almost wish to take a playful bite. Her name is Sakura. She is a key member of the Paradise Consortium, serving as one of the managers in the marketing department. Although the consortium has had its share of confrontations with Jiang Yuan, characterized by a palpable animosity, it is important to remember that a consortium is not a singular entity, but rather a collective of individuals. Within this group, some harbor disdain for Jiang Yuan, while others are merely annoyed, and some view him as a significant threat. Yet, there are also many within the Paradise Consortium who admire Jiang Yuan's talents and hope to bring him into their fold, transforming hostility into harmony. After all, there are no blood feuds between them, nor can one speak of irreconcilable hatred. Sakura is among those who hold a deep appreciation for Jiang Yuan's abilities. Now of marriageable age, she finds herself pursued by many admirers, with infatuated suitors in abundance. Yet she found none of them appealing. Since childhood, Sakura has been a woman of lofty ambitions, believing that only the most exceptional men are worthy of her. Even when several male executives from the Tiantang Corporation extended olive branches and hinted at their interest, she dismissed them all. Her rationale was simple. She had little regard for those older men, lacking both aesthetic appeal and physical allure, most of whom sported large, protruding beer bellies. The mere sight of these successful, middle-aged men evoked a wave of nausea within her. Although she held high standards, aspiring only for truly outstanding men, It seemed that her ideal candidates were invariably greasy middle-aged gentlemen. Many assert that physical appearance holds little significance, arguing that even the most handsome faces can become tiresome over time. Conversely, one may grow accustomed to less appealing looks. To this, Sakura could only scoff. Her close friends often urged her to overlook superficial qualities and seek out the virtues in men. Sakura was not impervious to advice, yet despite her earnest attempts, she was astonished to find herself unable to escape the weight of appearances. After all, whether one grows weary or accustomed to another's looks, the prerequisite is simply the passage of time spent in their presence. Thus, the very examples cited in motivational discussions inadvertently underscore the importance of physical beauty. For it is only those who are pleasing to the eye that can evoke feelings of weariness. The unattractive are often disregarded entirely. It was precisely this fixation on appearances that led Sakura to feel as though she had finally discovered something remarkable upon meeting Jiang Yuan. When it comes to talent, Jiang Yuan needs no further elaboration. More crucially, he possesses both youth and wealth, coupled with an extraordinary charm and striking looks. Such a man naturally became her primary target. Other men either lacked aesthetic appeal or intellectual prowess, and one cannot have both. If it were that simple to find, she would have long since been in a relationship. Encountering Jiang Yuan felt akin to unearthing a treasure. In terms of romantic strategy, Sakura had her share of methods. Despite her lack of romantic experience, this extraordinarily charming girl had attracted countless suitors throughout her life. This meant that while many ordinary girls struggled to flirt and glean insights into male interactions, she could step outside her door and find no fewer than 20 boys eager to exchange contact information. Growing up in such an environment, any girl not as dim-witted as a pig would have amassed considerable experience in the art of flirtation. After all, the majority of endeavors in life adhere to the principle of the 10,000-hour rule. Devote 10,000 hours to any pursuit, and one can become an expert in that field. If Sakura so desired, a mere gesture would summon a multitude of eager admirers, ready to open their hearts and engage in conversation. Through years of accumulation, she has developed a profound understanding of the male psyche. To exaggerate, one might say that as soon as a man lifts a finger, she can intuit his innermost thoughts. When it comes to dealing with men, conquering the heart is far superior to merely capturing the city. With a flicker of insight, a mysterious smile graced her face. For she, being exceptionally astute, had swiftly devised a cunning strategy to ensnare Jiang Yuan. Moreover, there exist many women within the 5 major conglomerates who share her mindset. They are all exceptionally intelligent individuals who inherently comprehend one another's thoughts, thus igniting an inexplicable war among numerous women at this very moment. Chapter 467. The subtle tactics of Sakura at the global banquet. Jiang Yuan savored the exquisite delicacies while his mind was preoccupied with thoughts concerning the medical theme at hand. It was evident that the tire lens of the Paradise Consortium aimed to exploit this medical motif to amass wealth, seizing the opportunity to engulf rival conglomerates and establish a monopolistic stronghold. More crucially, his actions bore the hallmarks of an aspiring leader among the 5 major consortiums, signaling his ambition by introducing this theme at such a prestigious event. However, Jiang Yuan felt little threat from this maneuver, for he still held the trump card of a medical patent concerning cardiology. What appeared to be a simple meal was overshadowed by the collective anxiety surrounding the distribution of profits related to the medical theme. Many attendees felt immense pressure, not only for themselves, but also for the welfare of their respective consortiums. In contrast, Jiang Yuan was relatively unfazed. He adhered to the philosophy of confronting challenges as they arose, believing that excessive worry would yield no benefit. "I shall step away for a moment," Jiang Yuan remarked politely, prompting a nod of acknowledgement from Li Jiqing. Typically, occasions such as this global banquet are marked by their formality, where leaving without significant cause is deemed inappropriate for ordinary individuals. Yet, Jiang Yuan was no ordinary person. Since resolving the matter of the 100 billion order, his relationship with Li Jiqing had taken on a certain complexity. On the surface, he appeared to be a novice within the Li Consortium, yet in truth, he was a remarkable talent with substantial contributions. Occupying the 11th seat at the global banquet, he had, in many respects, attained an equal footing with Li Jiqing. Thus, even as Jiang Yuan departed with casual ease, Li Jiqing found herself at a loss for words. In the quietude of their evolving dynamics, their statuses had subtly converged. After excusing himself, Jiang Yuan sought out a restroom. However, on his way, he encountered a young woman who appeared quite helpless, searching the ground for something. Initially, Jiang Yuan was inclined to ignore her. After all, the world was replete with individuals in distress. Should he feel compelled to assist each one? Yet, the woman's beauty was undeniable. With her shoulder-length, highlighted hair framing a pair of charmingly elfin ears and doe-like, innocent eyes, she exuded an air of vulnerability that was irresistible. Her slightly parted, rosy lips, combined with a relaxed yet endearing demeanor, made her the epitome of his preferred type. "Excuse me, miss, do you require assistance?" Jiang Yuan inquired with gentlemanly grace, approaching her with poise. "Ah, would you be willing to help me? My necklace has fallen on this path. It was a keepsake from my mother," she replied, her tone tinged with desperation, as though she had found her savior. Jiang Yuan nodded gently in response to her plea. Suddenly, Jiang Yuan's eyes, sharp as those of a hawk, scanned his surroundings, and indeed, he spotted a ruby necklace in a slightly off position. "This must be the necklace your mother left for you," he thought. He approached and picked it up, then courteously handed it to the woman. "Ah, yes. Thank you so much." The woman seemed overwhelmed with gratitude. "I have searched for so long and could not find it, yet you discovered it so swiftly. You are truly remarkable." Flattered by the praise from such a beautiful woman, Jiang Yuan felt a surge of masculine pride. Upon getting a clearer look at Jiang Yuan's face, the woman gasped, "Could you be Jiang Yuan, the one who holds the 11th seat?" This woman was none other than Sakura. Her approach was a calculated strategy known as targeting with precision. Many straightforward women often believe that handling matters independently exudes a unique charm, but in truth, what captivates men is often those who can evoke a sense of protectiveness within them. Frequently, women who seek assistance from men can be incredibly enchanting. The pivotal secret lies in whether one can stir a man's sense of pride, making him feel admired. Men are not particularly concerned about whether they assist someone. It is merely a trivial act. However, they're deeply invested in the status they hold in the eyes of others. One of Sakura's close friends is an expert on marital issues. She frequently cites an example of why men stray. If a man is often reprimanded by his wife at home, berating his shortcomings such as low income or lack of consideration, he inevitably feels like a shameful clown, unable to hold his head high. Conversely, if there exists a woman outside who adores him like a fan, continually expressing admiration, without a doubt, this man will feel like the most powerful figure in the world in her presence, and a sense of pride will swell within him. The disparity between these two experiences is as vast as the heavens and the earth. The admiration displayed by the mistress is simply irresistible to any man. When it comes to understanding a man's psyche, many mistresses possess considerable insight. Sakura, too, was well aware of this principle. This precise targeting was one of her subtle tactics to captivate Jiang Yuan. Unsurprisingly, after her flurry of compliments, Jiang Yuan could not help but feel a sense of gratification, a smile gracing his lips. And all of this was merely the beginning. Sakura pressed on. "I've heard that the special seating at this world banquet is exceedingly rare. It's incredible that at such a young age, you've secured the 11th seat. Your future is indeed limitless." Jiang Yuan smiled modestly and replied, "You flatter me. I am merely doing my best." In Sakura's eyes, it seemed as if little stars had ignited, and she smiled as she said, "Ever since I joined the Paradise Consortium 6 years ago, I have yearned for a position at this grand banquet. However, I never anticipated that someone would manage to secure a special seat on their very first attendance. You are truly remarkable." Jiang Yuan furrowed his brow slightly and inquired, "Are you part of the Paradise Consortium?" Sakura's expression dimmed, and she confessed, "In truth, I was compelled to join the Paradise Consortium. They hold my family's secrets and have forced me into servitude." Her delicate cheeks took on a shade of melancholy, and in an instant, the surroundings seemed to lose their luster, evoking a deep desire in others to embrace and cherish her. Chapter 468. Genuine admiration upon witnessing her current demeanor. Jiang Yuan perceived her as a doll tarnished by dust, invoking a profound instinct to shield her. Yet, just as he was about to utter a word, Sakura shyly covered her face and remarked, "Oh dear, I shouldn't have spoken of such matters so soon. We have only just met, and this is ultimately my own affair. I apologize for burdening you. Furthermore, the Paradise Consortium is immensely powerful. It seems there is no one in this world capable of rivaling them. So why should I even mention this?" Her strategy was a precisely targeted enhancement, infused with elements of feigned vulnerability and provocation. Sakura was acutely aware of the deep-seated enmity between Jiang Yuan and the Paradise Consortium. With this understanding, she skillfully and subtly introduced her own lamentable plight as a consequence of the consortium, undoubtedly a potent maneuver to evoke the protective instincts of a man. Sakura possessed a profound understanding of human nature, recognizing that throughout history, a majority of men have sought to conquer women through admiration. Conversely, women often achieve their aims of subjugating men through a reverse admiration. A crucial aspect of this dynamic is the ability to inspire men to sacrifice and invest in them, instilling in them a sense of pride and an intense desire to protect. The animosity between Jiang Yuan and the Paradise Consortium served to intensify this protective instinct. Who says men hold no grudges? A gentleman may wait 10 years for revenge, and if even a gentleman is willing to spend a decade in pursuit of retribution. Or the ordinary man. Once Sakura deftly aligned herself with Jiang Yuan, indicating that they shared a common adversary in the Paradise Consortium, they would naturally lower their defenses in solidarity against a mutual foe. Moreover, a true man takes pride in safeguarding the vulnerable. As a victim of the Paradise Consortium, Sakura would naturally be seen as deserving of Jiang Yuan's protection. Although she had indeed suffered persecution at the hands of the consortium, compelled to serve them, she had, in fact, relinquished her aspirations of escaping their grasp and abandoned thoughts of vengeance 3 years prior. The rationale was simple. The Paradise Consortium was overwhelmingly formidable, to the point of instilling a sense of despair. Initially, Sakura had entertained the idea of gradually infiltrating the upper echelons of the consortium to erode its foundations from within. However, upon achieving her goal and entering the consortium's inner sanctum, she despaired as she realized her individual capabilities were but a mere fraction, insignificant in the face of the consortium's vast power. Confronting the Paradise Consortium was akin to an individual with a teacup attempting to fill the entirety of the ocean, utterly absurd and laughable. The true strength of the Paradise Consortium was such that even a coalition of several major consortiums would likely falter in their attempt to obliterate it. As the saying goes, a centipede, despite its death, does not become stiff. Should such a scenario ever arise, it is feared that within a few years, the Paradise Consortium would rise anew. Thus, Sakura had long abandoned her quest for vengeance, turning instead to the hope of marrying a man of insight and talent, seeking to lead a life of tranquility. Upon hearing her words, Jiang Yuan raised an eyebrow and remarked, "Though the Paradise Consortium may wield momentary power, it is said that what is united must eventually part, and what has parted will reunite. Such is the nature of fate. Is there truly such a thing as an eternal consortium? Even the countless dynasties that claim immortality will ultimately fade into the dust of history. As the saying goes, success is in the hands of man. What grand consortium exists by mere chance? Are we not the ones who strive and contend with blood and sweat, who reflect and strategize with wisdom to achieve victory? The Paradise Consortium is not invincible. The crux lies in whether one possesses the courage to challenge it." Sakura's heart raced at Jiang Yuan's words, feeling a surge of masculinity emanating from him. Her cheeks flushed, as if a needle had pricked her heart, leaving a tingling sensation. This was no feigned expression. She genuinely sensed the fervor and indomitable ambition within Jiang Yuan, akin to a blazing fire. His brief speech unveiled the unquenchable ambition that resided within him. Such a man could evoke a profound sense of security in a woman with but a glance. However, after this fleeting moment of admiration, Sakura hesitated and could not help but inquire again, "But the power of the Paradise Consortium is formidable, even if someone could indeed bring it down. Many challengers would likely become mere footnotes. Are you truly willing to take such risks?" Jiang Yuan's eyes betrayed a hint of disdain and scorn as he replied, "Throughout history, has there ever been a struggle without bloodshed and injury? Scars are the badges of a man. As a challenger, one must be prepared to bleed and sacrifice. If one fears even a modicum of pain and shies away from hardship, it is indeed a sign of cowardice. Moreover, a true man must achieve what others cannot. If one spends their days fretting over potential failure, would that not be a pitiful existence?" Sakura felt a fervent passion igniting within her chest, unable to restrain herself from applauding Jiang Yuan's boldness. Initially, she had sought merely to find a promising man to claim as her own, employing some subtle tactics to ensnare him. Yet, after hearing just a few of Jiang Yuan's words, she genuinely recognized his extraordinary nature. She had never encountered a man so ambitious, possessing an almost obsessive spirit of challenge. In her eyes, such masculinity qualified him as a true man, capable of achieving great things. She suddenly realized that her cunning schemes paled in comparison to the authenticity of this true man, appearing absurd and laughable, akin to a mortal boasting of their strength before a deity. revealing their ignorance and insignificance. Chapter 469. Three men make a tiger. Jiang Yuan's demeanor and eloquence were remarkably extraordinary, instantly stirring something within Sakura. However, if the opponent were the Paradise Consortium, it was evident that mere charm and rhetoric would be insufficient for success. Sakura remained silent, pondering how to respond. Jiang Yuan raised an eyebrow and inquired, "Do you truly believe I am merely posturing, relying solely on verbal prowess, devoid of any genuine talent?" Sakura gently shook her head, letting out a heartfelt sigh as she replied, "It is not that. Rather, the strength of the Paradise Consortium far exceeds our imagination. I merely worry that you may not fully grasp the magnitude of their power." With a light chuckle, Jiang Yuan responded, "What if I were to subdue that arrogant Delance from the banquet?" Delance, the deputy of the Paradise Consortium, a figure of true leadership within the organization.